Welcome everybody to Salty Saturday, the Week 2 edition, as we're now to the second week of our respective team seasons. I'm Donde. I'm excited to be here on the casting side of things tonight. I was playing last night, but tonight I get to cast alongside Icicles. Icicles, how you doing tonight?
Hey man, I'm doing great. I'm happy to be on, happy to be casting. Hopefully we can keep the salts to a minimum despite the name of the show, but we'll see how it goes.
Sure thing. I mean, not too much salt from the caster side of things here, but we know that there's going to be 3 winners tonight and 3 people who will unfortunately not be able to win their respective matches. So we've got a great lineup, I think, this evening. Should be a good mix here of some pro matches, some hero matches, or I should say pro match and hero matches, because we have 3 total. We're starting off with Rizen and Koroden, Rizen of AEON and Koroden of the Canadian Clown Fiesta. This has been a heavily featured series this week, as 2 matches were played last night on stream, mine included. AEON leading this right now 10-6. So we'll get to that in just a second. Our other matches that are coming up in a little bit are both hero matches at approximately 9 p.m. Itachi of F2L versus LotusKnight of the Booty Bay Yacht Club. And then we will see BrushyTuna versus, or a BrushyTuna of ATL versus Clarity of DadLegend in hero as well. So all this is 8, 9, and 10 p.m. Respectively, of course.
Supposedly.
Depending on how the matches go. And I do apologize, we had some technical difficulties to start with, as I was technically not home. And it took me a little bit of time to get everything going. So
that is quite the technical difficulty.
It's pretty hard to start the stream when you're not at the desk. So we're here now. We're ready to go. So why don't we talk a little bit about Rizen versus Koroden? It being a pro match, we do have access to the lists, and being the fantastic content creator that I am, I did not actually make a graphic of this because I ran out of time. Thought I was going to be home in time. I apologize, but we can talk about their lists nonetheless. Do you have them up on your screen?
Sure.
Guys, please.
Yes, I can start with Rizen's lists. He has the Face Hunter and the Malygos Druid and the Soul Control Demon Hunter. His Highlander Priest has been banned, so we'll be looking at those first three lists. And on the other side, with Koroden, Koroden's Face Hunter was banned, and so that leaves him with an Aggro Demon Hunter, a Weapon Rogue, and a Bomb Warrior. So we have 6 different lists that we'll be working through tonight. So yeah, a lot of variety. It should be some good matches. I think some of these games will be really highly contested. So I'm looking forward to this one. Should be a good series.
Yeah, no true mirror match. That's always a good thing to see, and especially if it's not going to be a priest mirror match, because no one wants to watch that, right?
I love Priest mirrors. I don't know what you're talking about.
I like Priest too. It just gets a little zany towards the end with all the generation, but it is still entertaining, and that's what we're here for, is to be as entertaining as possible. And I think this series will be a good one. AEON can lock it up with a win tonight. So if Rizen does win, Neji Boston will play Phoenix, and those will be for bonus points, of course. And of course, Canadian Cloud Fiesta wants as many points as they can get here early in the season. However, if Koroden beats Rizen, anything is possible in Game 5 of this series. So let's go ahead and get into the match. I think players should be ready to go by now, so I will let them take it away. We'll have Rizen on the bottom of your screen and Koroden on the top.
Any guesses as to what they'll be leading off with tonight?
I guess it would be a little bit easy for me to tell you what
that's true. All right,
lead off with.
Let's go the other way. Let's say, what do you think Koroden's going to lead off with? And I'll try to guess what Rizen leads off with.
I think a Priest could be a good lead.
So I agree with you, except that Priest got banned, so he probably won't be leading Priest tonight.
I'm sorry. I was looking at the other the other match here. No. My bad. Let's say I'm Bomb Warrior. I'm a Warrior guy. This meta, I think Warrior's really strong and probably still going to get banned a lot. And anytime you get a chance to play it, you probably want to. I want to just kind of rush it out there, so I'm going to say Warrior.
Yeah. My guess for Rizen, he's going to lead the Face Hunter. I think he has the strongest matchups across the board. Seems like a pretty safe pick to start with, so we'll see how it shakes out.
All right, letting them know. Hopefully they've got spec turned on for us.
Yeah, there's always that awkward moment when you know that the game has started and you're waiting and you don't see the eyeball and you're just like, uh-oh, more technical difficulties. How could this have been avoided?
It could have been avoided by me switching the scene appropriately.
Yes, let's definitely remember to do that, and I will definitely forget to remind you. So you're on your own tonight.
That's
so good luck. How are the cats doing? Cats good? Gonna have any desk invaders today?
We might. You never know, right? It's possible. Might have a child. Might have a cat. That's just.
So who do we have on the bottom, and who is going to be on top?
Rizen is on the bottom, so specking first, and then Koroden on top.
Perfect.
And I am jumping in right now, so we should see that shortly.
Looks like we completely whiffed on our first pick selections. Rizen starting with the Soul Demon Hunter, and Koroden starting with the Weapon Rogue. So this should be a pretty interesting match. Both decks do it in completely different ways, but they are very reliant on the weapons. Obviously, Weapon Rogue being called Weapon Rogue makes a lot of sense, but that Soul Demon Hunter has a couple key weapons as well, with the Marrow Slicer and Eldrazi Warblades. So we'll see which of these two decks is able to get their respective weapons online. It is a slight rogue-favored matchup, but not too dramatic. So this should be a pretty good one. And we see a good start for Rizen, having that Battle Fiend and Spirit Jailer in hand, so he can kind of pick what he wants to do on turn 1 with a lot of good early minion options.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, it is a very close matchup here, and the important thing for Rizen is going to be trying to find a spot to stabilize, because the Rogue is going to be putting out damage in a consistent fashion this entire game. But those Eldrachi Warblades will go a long way towards giving Rizen a bunch of health back, and hopefully, in his case, make it so that he just stays a little bit out of range of Koroden's burst damage from those secret passages that we see, both of which are already in hand.
Yeah, both secret passages as well as a self-sharpening sword for Koroden, which is probably the most important card in the deck.
Absolutely. For
the Rogue. So a good start for him. It's interesting that Rizen decided not to play the Battle Fiend on turn 1. Looking at Koroden's list, he does run backstabs, so maybe Rizen was thinking he could take one out with the Spirit Jailer and maybe keep his Falcon protected, but it's staring down a 2/1 stealth minion, so I'm probably not going to get a whole lot of value here.
I think in this case, Rizen is probably okay with the trade, just
right.
That's not damage that's heading to his face. And yes, of course, that self-sharpening sword will be the play on 3, as that's always what you like to do if you have your choice as the Rogue.
Interested in Koroden's swinging there, knowing he has the Deadly Poison in hand, and knowing that Rizen doesn't have any weapon removal. There is an argument to make to hold that swing and maximize the value of the Deadly Poison, get 4 swings out of it instead of 3. But at the same time, sometimes it is nice to just get that early damage up in case you need to clear something else off the board. And then Rizen now, he has the mana to play the Warblades, and it probably makes sense to do so, even if I don't expect him to swing me yet, just because he's looking at an Adept and a Lapidary coming up. So this Warblades is a potentially huge amount of healing should Koroden push more damage. And looking at 2 Eviscerates, he definitely has the damage in hand.
And a Secret Passage coming out on turn 4 here.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a sign of desperation. He does hit massively with the 2 cutting glasses. This is going to give him a ton of fuel. So it pays off. You don't always get that big of a benefit from the early Secret Passage, but in this case it paid off in a big way.
Now, interesting here, he chooses to play down the Corsair, which, with having drawn the Edwin in hand, which by the way is a card that's not in every single one of these weapon rogue lists, I would have thought that maybe you'd want to try to use that since it's a free card to build a big Edwin, but he opts to just play that Corsair down instead as a little bit of protection here.
I think the calculation there is, would you rather have a 3/3 immediately or an extra 2/2 on an Edwin? And I think the 3/3 immediately is probably more beneficial. Rizen has a choice. He can cleanly clear that off with Soul Shear, but then unless he uses the coin, doesn't have much else to do. He could opt to make a trade, but it looks like he's going with the Your Power, Mana Feeder, draw some cards, and then Soul Shear. So, okay, this is what I thought you might have done with the Soul Shear. You just did it in the other order to draw first, so definitely makes sense.
Move into the deck. Well, I think the drawing first is important there because you don't necessarily want to draw those soul fragments.
Right.
So putting those in at the end of your turn, obviously they can't be drawn, at least not until next turn. So I do like the ordering there.
So we should be up to 4 now in the deck.
Correct.
Home in the shadows.
And the
cruel
fantastic combo there of a Spy Mistress, Greyheart Sage will draw 2 more cards for Koroden. And hey, one of those is another Spy Mistress. So a lot of damage, just kind of hiding on board in plain sight there. And Rizen will continue to try to see if he can stay up above a safe area, knowing just how bursty this rogue deck can be.
Yeah, but we do see he is taking a swing now, so he'll be at 23 life, but there's only 1 swing left on that sword, and I think Rizen's in a pretty good spot holding considered, especially drawing the Blade Dance that can just clean this board up, no problem. So I think if you're Rizen, you're pretty happy with the way this is playing out.
Now that being said, though, this is the last charge of the Warblade, so if you're going to use the Blade Dance this turn, well, I guess you don't have to swing with it.
Right. Yeah, I probably would expect him not to, just because of the Lapidary and the Twin Slice in hand. He can definitely save the healing, because I do think you put premium on that healing in this matchup, knowing you have that big burst in hand.
And now, does that signal in any way to Koroden what Rizen might be holding along lines of that lapidary or twin slice? Because it's not that crazy to not swing with the weapon, knowing that you want to get more value out of it. But does it tell him right now, hey, these are the cards that I'm holding?
I think it says two things. It either says, yes, these are cards that I'm holding that I'm waiting to buff this weapon, or it says that I'm not holding additional weapons. Because if I had a Miracle Slicer, or if I had the other Warblades, then I'd be more likely to make that swing. So because I didn't, then it's more likely that this is the only weapon I have access to at the moment.
Very true. And Krasnov is a humongous pickup off the Secret Passage.
Yeah, that really well timed. Just getting that extra swing, and now we're at the point where Koroden is essentially threatening lethal. So Rizen saving that healing for this turn specifically is going to be pretty nice. However, it is only going into a 3/3 as opposed to going into face, which is where Rizen will certainly rather damage go. But
he could Shard Shatter Mystic to clear, and then he could use his hero power and then double Twin Slice, which is not as great as the Lapidary, but it's quite a bit of healing, and it does leave a clean board for him to work with.
Right. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Plus, he can also develop the Battle Fiend as well. So, kind of a
power, so one less healing. That's fine.
Right. Yeah. So I think that makes sense, especially given the priority of killing the Krasnov.
Job's done.
And just like that, the big swing of the healing weapon now puts Koroden on the back foot with, yes, one massive charge of this weapon left, but no Steel Dancer, nothing really to benefit from it. Scimitar's maybe stuck there for a second. Looks like he's probably going to build at least a semi-decent Edwin here. We'll see what he opts to use to develop. So he's going to go with the Scimitar. Okay. So I think I might have preferred putting the minion down as well as eviscerating. Just to make that Edwin a little bit bigger, push a little more damage onto the Demon Hunter. But this isn't a terrible one either, because it does make it a little bit awkward for Rizen to deal with, although that Mystic pickup is pretty nice.
Instead, he's going to use the Glaive-bound Adept and the body of the Mystic already on board. So he'll be left with a 6/4 that now can be backstabbed with that pickup there, or sapped. I think sap is the wrong choice because you don't want to be taking more damage if you're Koroden. But the backstab plus 2 eviscerates and that weapon is already 12 damage in hand. And that puts Rizen in a really tough spot.
Yeah, the second swing of the Scimitar representing lethal right now, based on what Koroden's holding. And I imagine there are a couple options within the deck itself that might add to it, either the Toxin Blade, or let me see if there's anything else. No, I guess that would be it. Or the other Deadly Poison as well, in case Rizen's able to heal up some of this damage with drawing Soul Fragments or drawing the other Eldrazi Warblades.
Well, Koroden's going in now. He says that, I don't care if you know that you're on the clock, I'm just going to put you there anyway. And Spectral Sight top deck for Rizen, that might be enough, might be able to get him something that saves his life here.
Yeah, definitely looking for a couple specific draws. Soul Fragments, somewhat helpful. That does not do it.
And that is not enough damage.
Nope, not enough damage, no healing. So it looks like the Weapon Rogue pulls out game number 1. Pretty good showing from Koroden there, making really good use of the secret passages. Obviously hitting the jackpot on the first one with the double cutting class, but even the second one offering Krasnov and being able to kind of keep the main hand full while taking advantage of the resources from the fake hand. Really well played. Spaced out well and just put out constant pressure on the Demon Hunter, keeping him from being able to heal up the damage and get back in this game.
Rizen will show a few cards just to say, I got this close, but I couldn't quite get there. And game 1 goes to Koroden.
You know, like we said at the beginning, the self-sharpening sword, the key to the deck, and that game was a perfect illustration of why just the massive amount of damage it was able to do with just one single Krasnov buff. Just seal that game up for Koroden.
So that leaves Koroden now with a Demon Hunter of his own and a Warrior to go against all 3 of Rizen's decks. This is Pro. This is a Conquest series, so Every one of the decks that are brought must be played and won with if you are to win this series. So you cannot play with that rogue again, just in case any of our viewers out there are unfamiliar with how Conquest works.
Yeah, and it looks pretty good from Koroden's perspective to have that Bomb Warrior sitting in the wings. It definitely has a strong matchup spread here, with the exception of Rizen Space Hunter. But the Aggro Demon Hunter might be a little trickier depending on how things go. It should be favored against the Face Hunter, but maybe not into the other two decks. So let's see how this lines up. And actually, this is great for Koroden, hitting the Soul Demon Hunter with his Bomb Warrior, which is definitely a warrior favored matchup. I guess Rizen was potentially expecting Koroden to come back with the Aggro Demon Hunter instead. But unfortunately, he does not get the matchup he would have liked with this deck for round 2.
Koroden with the magic card of Corsair Cash on 2 with his mulligan there. That's a huge pickup. And Rizen, again, he has a pretty decent opening hand himself. He'll get the Jailer on turn 1.
Yeah, it's always nice to start with the 1-drop. Also holding the Mana Feeder, which gives him a little bit of fuel going forward. But Spectral Sight is a nice pickup here, just to be able to play it immediately. It's definitely a match where you need to put out as much damage as fast as possible as the Demon Hunter before the Warrior can just fill your deck with bombs and kind of overwhelm you. So I think the Spectral Sight here makes the most sense while it's in the outcast position, just to get those options and be able to push as much damage as fast as possible. For Koroden's side, running the Pirate package, not as useful against this version of Demon Hunter. It does help a little bit with the armor gain if you're able to pair that Risky Skipper with an Armor Smith. But for the most part, you're just looking to control their damage, fill it up with bombs, and kind of just let them explode.
And we do see an unfortunate Soul Fragment draw there for Rizen. Does not heal him in any way, and just kind of burns up the resource from his deck. Not what you want to have happen early on, but Koroden's going to put a few things in the deck now that Rizen will definitely not want to draw in the form of bombs.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Rizen's list, let me just double check this real quick, does not run Lordkeeper or Polkelt, which is somewhat of a liability in this matchup. So one thing that he doesn't have to worry about having a deck card in his hand and putting all the bombs at the top of his deck. So not too bad.
You're not a fan of drawing all of the bombs consecutively?
I think the only time you can make it work is if you fill your hand and then cause them all to mill. But I think that's more difficult to do than it sounds, because you're stuck either not playing cards or trying to generate cards for a few turns and not really putting pressure out. So it may not exactly work. Plus, then you have the opponent's ability to just reshuffle your deck anyway. So generally one of the weaker cards in this matchup, and fortunate for Rizen that he doesn't have it in the deck.
There is always the edge case, too, where you take the damage intentionally because you have the healing set up for after the bombs go off. But that is such a rare case. I'm sure you have to have the right healing cards, the War Blades, etc. And then you have to draw the bombs, and then you have to heal yourself. So there's a lot of stuff that would have to go into play there to make that actually happen. I don't think that that's anything that you ever actively play towards as the Soul Demon Hunter.
Yeah, so we see from Rizen's perspective, he actually does have a little bit of damage already placed onto Koroden, and maybe the opportunity to push a little more. If he can get the Marrow Slicer or the other Lapidary, he might just be able to push enough damage here to get over the hump, but it's going to have to start coming soon.
And Rizen does identify this. It looks like he used the Lapidary aggressively last turn. He's trying to push that damage now while he can, and he's going to go ahead and try to just keep the pressure on Koroden, who will really be looking to try and find, ways to add some armor to his life total and just kind of outlast Rizen throughout the course of this game and let the bombs do their work.
Yeah, so he's one main away from this being a really great Skip Armor Smith turn. He doesn't have that second activation in hands now, or the mana to be able to pull another pirate off the end card. So opts to just play the Greenskin out now, just to further increase the potency of his weapon, put a couple extra bombs in the deck. But he's going to be looking for opportunity to play that Skipper Armor Swift combo. So there's the Lapidary.
But yet no bombs in the or no soul shards in the deck to draw with that lapidary at the moment. So he does have soul shard or soul shear in hand. I apologize.
Yep.
That is not going to kill that 5/4, but it can put a dent into it, and he can always use his face to clean up the rest of the mess.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting choice. I wouldn't be surprised to see him just go ahead and Blade Dance here, and possibly use maybe the first half of a Twin Slice to push more face damage. I really think you need to maximize your mana every turn on trying to do as much damage as possible. You're never swinging into this 5/1 with your face. So, yeah, it does look like he's going for that. And opting to forgo the hero power, so it looks like he's trying to speed up the clock even further.
He's doing that to try and get that Skull of Gul'dan into a playable position on the left side of the hand. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So should he need it?
Right. Yeah, and at this point he may not. 5/7/9. Yeah, I mean it's unlikely that Koroden's going to end this turn without gaining armor and/or killing the 3/2 on the board, but that would represent lethal damage if Koroden takes a different line. For example, playing out the Dr. Boom, which might be tempting given the number of bombs in the deck.
Oh no.
So the interesting thing for Koroden is he knows that the back half of both second slices are there in Rizen's hand. So that's guaranteed 4 damage. And the potential for, I guess it would just be the Lapidary or a Marrow Slicer. Either one of those cards would represent lethal damage coming back if he just plays Dr. Boom. So when you're sitting on 12 life, it seems like maybe an unnecessary risk to play the Boom, even if it feels good to have a board full of bombs, but it's going to get punished. And Rizen's going to take Game 2.
The good news for Rizen there is he finds himself winning a matchup that he otherwise really shouldn't have been in.
Yeah, impressively navigated. Playing both of the Twin Slices last turn wasn't enough damage. It gave him just enough. My line of taking the hero power just to space that out a little bit more would have been incorrect. And well played by Rizen.
So the series gets even back up to 1-1 now.
Pretty big win. Always in a Conquest when you win an unfavored matchup, it just goes such a long way towards taking the series. So Rizen's got to be feeling good about that one. Because I think his other two decks, especially running the Geppetto in the Druid list, gives him a pretty good opportunity to beat up on this Bomb Warrior now. That was really Koroden's best shot at getting that Bomb Warrior through. So the tables might have turned a little bit with that win by Rizen. I would not be surprised to see Koroden switch over to the Aggro Demon Hunter. I think it lines up better against the last two decks. But no, he's going to stick to the Bomb Warrior, going up against Rizen Space Hunter. Now we did just see a unfavored matchup win, so let's see if Koroden can swing that back his way with winning the unfavorable matchup here from the Bomb Warrior's perspective. And Rizen throwing back the Reader. Interesting. I wonder... So I don't play a lot of Face Hunter, and I feel like Reader is a pretty valuable card to have.
It actually is one of those cards you'd rather draw later on in the game, because you'd rather have cards that you just want to play in the early game, which he does in the Acolyte there, or in the Initiate, I should say, there, and the Imprisoned Felma on turn 2. So he's got options early on, so I don't necessarily mind that throwing it back, but it's definitely hand-based, obviously, but you'd like to have it for more gas later in the game.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think you're right. I think you definitely want the options for more pressure early. And just waiting for reload with a 1/3 is probably not your best option for winning.
Right.
It can maybe bail you out later in the game, but yeah, okay, I can see that. This is why I don't play Face Hunter. So now is an interesting option. He can opt for, I guess, a little bit of the blade damage with the Felma, or get the immediate impact of always Refa and buffing his Intrepid Initiate. So this works out pretty well for Rizen, particularly getting that minion off the Demon Companion. Looking at Koroden's side, he has Lord Baroff, which is a nice clear, especially when paired with a risky skipper. Unfortunately, the skipper not yet in hand. Does have a Blade Storm, which not quite of use yet. So it kind of has a little bit of an awkward selection of options here to deal with this early pressure from Rizen. Looks like he's going to go ahead and drop the Baroff and use a Sky Raider to take out one of these 3/2 minions.
Do try to keep yourselves alive.
And also threaten just with a Death Rattle on Baroff of clearing out the rest of the board.
Might it be worth taking out the Barov just to preempt Koroden having his choice of when it goes off? Because right now, I mean, you can go ahead and you'll get 1 damage in, use the 3/1 to get rid of it, and then kind of establish behind it, you know, maybe the Felmaw this turn with the Cub, and then Phase Stalker next turn.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an option. Looking at the trap list in Rizen's deck, he's running only 2 explosive traps, so there's no option for potentially getting a freezing trap to invalidate the Barov. So yeah, I think what you described makes the most sense, just to get rid of the Barov on your own terms and then develop behind it.
And down comes that Armor Smith. Koroden not waiting for the pair up with a risky skipper. However, he does have Blade Storm in hand, and that's probably going to be pretty helpful if he can get that down next turn without this Armor Smith dying.
Yeah, it does present an awkward turn for Rizen, knowing how threatening that Armor Smith is, but not having any way of dealing with it right away. So playing out the buffed Phase Stalker and kind of hoping that Koroden doesn't have the answer. But it looks like this is a pretty clean Blade Storm and then trade in. You do take the damage back from the Face Moth, which will guaranteed be a Face Moth. So we'll see how Koroden opts to play this. Okay, so he's going to... That's actually... Huh. An interesting choice. I wonder... No, I guess that's right, because you wouldn't have been able to kill the Face Stalker.
But the Face Maw here is going to not even have the choice. It's just going to go straight to hunt that face. Phase Stalker's going to come down clean now for Rizen. And all of a sudden, Koroden is in kind of a dangerous spot here. 1 Armor Smith gone, and no risky skippers in sight.
This is where the matchup for Face Hunter just kind of rears its ugly head in terms of just being able to put out too much pressure too fast for the Bomb Warrior to deal with. You know, Warrior traditionally has a lot of armor gain, a lot of sustainability, but wow, picking up the risky skipper here. Let's see if that's going to be enough.
Yeah, is it too late? I mean, I think right now you can't use it this turn with the Armor Smith because that's just essentially it. You're using it for 2 health and chipping away at the opponent's minions with really no benefit to yourself. So I think maybe this turn might be just get Captain Greenskin down and really, really hope you draw into something beneficial next turn that you can use alongside that risky skipper.
Man, it's just a tough position to be in. There's really no good option. Going, hopefully they kill a Felmaw. That is really his best bet here. So
yeah, he did win the coin flip.
Yeah, so it takes 5 power off the board. I think that was really the only thing he had to do.
And it's Mini Misha, the 2/2 taunt.
The draw of the other explosive trap, probably just about the worst card Rizen could have drawn in that situation, because you can't play it, and his existing explosive trap is probably not going to be triggered anytime soon. So I guess now he's debating whether to hold this Cub for a potential kill command draw, or if the 1/1 on the board is worth it. Tough decision. We know that the 1/1 just dies to the potential skipper Armor Smith turn, but
of course,
again, kind of a tough choice. I guess really the only choice at this point, just to kill off the 1/1 and the 2/2 and leave Rizen up with just a Phase Stalker. And again, the value of knowing your opponent's deck, knowing that there's only one type of trap that Rizen has that this face-off barrier is not presenting any value whatsoever. So
And
this might just be
this
enough.
is that part of the game where you're looking for that voracious reader. If you're Rizen, you really need to have some hand refill. Although that explosive trap is just going to sit there blocked by the other one that's already in play.
Right.
I wonder.
Yeah, there's a non-zero chance that Koroden doesn't attack into it within the next, at least probably turn or two. It's a rough spot to be in as a base hunter.
I think he did the only thing he could, which is get rid of that risky skipper. And now the armor smith by itself is still enough to take control of the board a little bit here and keep Koroden afloat. And a second greenskin in hand.
Yeah, playing a 5-mana AI.
That is true. And we see that Galakrond.
Someone's gotta lead the charge.
Yeah, Galakrond at this point represents really just 5 armor and reducing the rest of the armor. So Eagle Horn's not a bad pickup. So this
I
is
don't
where
mind that pickup if I'm Rizen. A little extra repeat damage here, and if Koroden does happen to attack, another charge.
there's a 0% chance that Koroden attacks, knowing that that trap is explosive. You don't want to give 2 more damage to yourself. You don't want to give an extra charge to the Eagle Horn bow. Now this does get a little more awkward drawing the range caliber because you kind of want to attack. Plus you have 2 greenskins that you want to develop. So maybe you start with the burglar and see what you can pull from that. See if that gives you maybe some heal, maybe a different option, maybe the holy grail of flare. But interesting. Okay. So armor's up first. I probably want to play the burglar first, but oof.
It's gotta be tip to scales, right?
Absolutely. Draw all the
8
Milash from the
mana,
deck.
draw nothing. Yeah,
this is probably mutate, I think.
Yeah, mutate's an immediate possibility. Skull of Gul'dan is the draw. I mean, he's already got cutting
Tough.
class in hand. I don't know what you're really looking for there.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I mean, there's almost no way you're realistically going to play from an outcast position. So, I mean, 6 mana draw 3. I probably would have just taken the gamble on mutate giving me something, you know, like you hit a Earth Elemental or something else, something crazy off the mutate. But we'll see. So Rizen, unfortunately, nothing to do.
Yeah, no real harm in holding this Adorable Infestation now. It stops from a potential minion that can be rushed into by a Krastenov should Koroden manage to pull that combination off. It's also not a problem because you can play it really anytime you want at this point. You have more than enough mana and not enough cards in your hand. So just holding on to that and hoping that for some reason Koroden will activate this explosive trap, which he targeted face briefly there with the Sky Raider.
Kind of a weird spot for Koroden because he's really just stuck. So he actually, everything I said about Skull not being active in the outcast position has just completely been invalidated by the pickup of the skipper. Gets a pretty massive selection of cards here with the shield block for free, an upgrade for free, and a 1 mana range caliber. Now, we're not seeing that range caliber for at least another turn or 2, maybe next turn. But it's starting to look like Rizen just isn't going to be able to get over the finish line here.
That's always the danger with Face Hunter. It is a deck that is so powerful in the early game, but any little bit of healing or consistent armoring, in the case of the Warrior, it's going to be able to get out of range. And if you don't have threat after threat going into that mid-game section of the fight here, you're going to run out of steam. That's what we're seeing with Rizen right now. He's got a lot of cards in his hand that he just can't do anything really damaging with.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't feel good to not play cards, but it also doesn't feel good to just throw everything away into the skipper here. I mean, you think at some point Koroden has to attack, but realistically, you can just sit there and armor up all day, and I mean, that's going to be okay for now. but the Rizen decides to take the what he feels is the lesser of two evils and just playing out the cards in his hand.
He does keep a beast back just in case he gets kill command, of course. However, one thing he has noted, of course, is that Armorsmith, both of them are gone
Right.
from Koroden's deck. So even that Risky Skipper, it does represent board removal, but it does in no way represent healing, which is a nice thing to know. However, bad news for Rizen, the Galakrond comes down, and that is just 5 healing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this might just be enough to put Koroden out of range. It looks like he has decided that he's going to start a push, so it probably will activate the Explosive Trap, give an extra proc to Rizen, but Galakrond, extra armor, and Koroden's made the decision that he can now kill the hunter before Rizen gets back on track.
Oh,
That is a
card.
normally a good draw, but man, I think you still have to play it because you know Koroden's going to swing. You don't really have a choice. You have to put something on the board. You're going to have to just keep attacking. He's going to give you extra charges on your Eagle Horn. So,
right, that's the important thing right now is that if Koroden wishes to attack to shuffle the bombs, he either needs to attack the Polkelt and take damage, which you're fine with as Rizen, or he needs to attack face and give you a charge, which you're fine with as Rizen.
Right.
But Krasinov...
Yeah, what you're not fine with is an 8/8 Krasinov coming down and buffing up even further. I'm wondering if Koroden makes the choice to not swing this turn for all the reasons we just stated. One being taking 2 more damage, also giving the charge on the Eagle Horn, and knowing that based on what Rizen's deck is like, that bomb is on the top of the deck. You guarantee him drawing a bomb. Okay. So the opposite of the shuffle. Yeah, I think he's just decided that he wins by just punching Rizen down and killing him in probably at least at the most 2 turns.
Oh, Dragonbane. That
Wow.
could be wait. That could be lethal. It's a coin flip lethal.
It is. And even if it's not, it clears the potential lethal coming back the other way. So
yeah, this is a situation I found myself in last night as well, where it was a coin flip to win, and you got to take it because, like you said, either way, you're getting rid of something. So let's see where it lands. It does not kill. That, however, is a pretty big threat that has to be removed, and Koroden doesn't.
The problem is Koroden has no armor gain.
Blade Storm.
It doesn't matter because he has no way of gaining health. He has no way of taunting. He almost has to play the Sticky Finger here just to steal the Eagle Horn bow to keep Rizen from killing him. Like, that's his only out.
And I mean, that doesn't, it doesn't take a lot of intuit to realize that. Of course, the damage is sitting right in front of you on board. So yes, he's going to swing first with his weapon. Might as well.
I wonder here, place the Sticky Finger and then Krastinov's to put the maximum power on the board, take away your opponent's immediate threat of lethal. But there's a number of draws for Rizen that get him there.
Very true. That's not it.
That's not one of them. So I think that's going to wrap up Game 3 for Koroden.
Because what beast would that even draw at this point?
Just the Wolpertinker.
Yep. Not going to do it.
Wow,
Face Hunter got very close.
The Sticky Finger tech in the Bomb Warrior paying off against Face Hunter. Not usually the sequence of words that you say on a stream, but there we are. So, very close match. Very interesting lines of play, but it worked out in the end for Koroden. So, he will take a 2-1 series lead.
That he will. And all he has left now to win with is his Demon Hunter. Which I believe when we talked at the top of the show, that's the aggro Demon Hunter. Is that right?
That is correct. Yep, he is running tops out at Skull. This looks very much like the the aggro demon hunter that we all came to hate in the last patch. She's running a couple new cards in the Demon Companion, the Intrepid Initiate, Cult Neophyte, and the Voracious Reader, as well as the Marrow Slicer. So there's a decent amount of new cards finding their way into the traditional, quote-unquote, traditional aggro demon hunter list. So we'll see how it plays. The two Neophytes could be trouble for Rizen's Malagos Druid. That card can be just completely game-winning against a Druid if you have enough of a board presence to where they need to play their ramp or they need to play their guardian animals and they just can't do it because they cost 1 extra mana. So this could be looking at Koroden being in a good spot to take this series.
And I think Neophytes, even though it's a card that you can play around a little bit to an extent, and knowing that they're in the deck lists in Pro is one thing. However, it's such a huge advantage when you know exactly where the power spikes are in your opponent's deck and where you want to go ahead and put that Neophyte or Neophytes, if you're running two of them, on board to just deal the maximum amount of frustration to your opponent at that time. So that's a huge advantage for Koroden here, as he will know what he needs to do and when he needs to do it in order to be the most disruptive possible. And we are going to see the Druid. So we haven't seen this Druid yet, the Malagos Druid, as you mentioned, for Rizen. And he's going to go ahead and get rid of everything but Nature Studies in his opening hand, and he finds Overgrowth.
That's interesting that Koroden. So Koroden had 3 1-drops in his hand. He was sitting on the Beaming Psychic, I believe the Guardian of Fog Merchant and Intrepid Initiate, threw it all back. I suppose looking for a Battle Fiend or really, I mean, that would be the 1-drop you would prefer. I guess Demon Companion is a decent 1-drop as well. Interesting choices. I think Swipe here makes the most sense. Just give yourself a little extra, potentially a little extra damage, but more likely an extra board clear.
Yeah, I like it a lot here as well. I mean, Guardian Animals is always a sexy pick. However, he's got one in hand already. Maybe if you didn't have one in hand, you might choose that instead. However, I think you're right. Swipe is the correct choice. And Cult Neophyte is just going to be tempoed out here, it looks like, instead of the Bone True Brawler.
That's an interesting choice. I guess, let's see. He doesn't run Wild Growth. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice there to play the Neophyte on that turn when you had other options. I think I kind of like the Brawler, even though it's 1 less attack. It at least is something. It would have
protected that 2/1.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it does a few different things. It also lets you play the Neophyte this turn, which would have blocked the cheapened Overgrowth. So we'll see if this ends up hurting Koroden in the long run after Rizen's able to ramp up on the turn that you might not otherwise have been able to.
Third swipe into hand. Now the question becomes, do you Overgrowth here because you're going to take a guaranteed 5 more damage from what's on board, plus the weapon that Koroden might choose to swing. And then you have Coin Guardian Animals the turn following. However, if you swipe this turn, clear the board, you can Overgrowth and then just naturally Guardian Animals and maybe get lucky and pick up a Lightning Bloom and Guardian Animals instead of the next turn. But I kind of like the fact that you got the extra swipe in hand. I kind of like just using it now.
Yeah, I think this is a really easy choice if you are running White Thresher, because then the Coin Guardian Animals on the next turn is just such a blowout. If you hit that Thresher and makes up for everything here. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays this next turn. If he decides to still Coin Guardian Animals, which I think you're almost like guaranteeing yourself that line of play when you take the Overgrowth line. So I do expect this.
He would have been paid off by the Lightning Bloom if he had played the swipe.
Yeah, he would have been at 4 mana and then could have coined Bloom into the animals. I don't think this is terrible.
It's not. And Germination's a big pickup too.
Yeah, having a Taunt up feels good. The Aggro Demon Hunter runs the Cane. Don't mind the Moonfire either, just to get a little bit of this damage. Second Neophyte. Very nice, but at this point, I think the damage is done from the Druid side, so you're not going to ever see the same level of power coming from that neophyte as you did a couple turns ago.
Very true. So using the face to clear off the front half of the teacher's pet, leaving a very weak Griffin, an easy value trade there for Koroden.
Picks up the overflow, which would have been a pretty good option this turn had Koroden not played the neophyte. So that neophyte actually does pay off right away. I probably expect to see one of the 3 swipes come down now. Drawing first makes sense, but it's likely that we still see the swipe. And the neophyte prevents the Gidra swipe turn here, which would have been pretty massive.
Could we see a Gidra Nature Studies, and then you use the Bog Meme?
Yeah, that's not terrible. Getting Gidra down, even as a 3/6 is pretty good.
Yeah, she would have cleared the board alongside that Bog Beam, and then you're looking at 6 damage on board, plus the fact that you have double swipe in hand.
Mm-hmm. So wow, Koroden's just gonna play out.
Would have been potential lethal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with double swipe in hand, absolutely. Yeah, that's one I'll probably go back and look at and maybe think about taking some time on. But
and if Koroden had used his hero power and attacked the minion, it would definitely have been lethal. So now, I think maybe Rizen got a little bit of a tunnel vision there on the Malagos, saying I need to wait and use my swipes with him, but this becomes more of a problem now.
I would probably expect to see the Gidra come down now with the swipe, and probably a Bog Beam to finish off the... Well, maybe not. I mean, Bog Beam is... It just depends. I mean, you're not really using Bog Beam for anything else, so... Okay, so he's going to hit... Okay, so... Going in a kind of different order, but still ultimately getting there. Using the swipe on the face probably makes the most sense. Bog Beam getting the most value out of it by getting the cane to start with. So I kind of like Bite, but I think you're probably winning next turn anyway. So
yeah, I don't think the pick there matters as much unless this is a skull into some craziness for Koroden. I don't think it's happening. Yeah, that's not going to be what he's looking for.
So Rizen takes game 4 and moves to best word in Hearthstone. Game 5.
Game 5. Yeah, not the route that we would have taken here on the caster side of things, but Rizen will prevail nonetheless.
I got you, friend.
I think kind of once you get through that initial onslaught, taking the option to ramp when he did, I think is always correct. As tempting as playing the swipes were to prevent the damage, yes, he did draw the lightning bloom, but just putting yourself in that position to do your most powerful stuff, and Koroden playing the neophytes and maybe not the most damaging places, I think kind of tilted that towards Rizen's favor, when that really at the beginning looked like it could have gone either way.
Very true. And it's those micro decisions like that that can really swing a game like Hearthstone. You know, a lot of the time we're looking at decks that are favored 53% to 47%. So even like one misplay can really shift a game very heavily. And we will see Face Hunter again versus that same Demon Hunter. So I guess this game's going to be quick, no matter what.
Yes, most likely.
Someone's winning fast.
Complete toss from Rizen and almost complete toss from Koroden, so see how this plays out. I think going first probably is an advantage in these types of matchups.
I would say so.
Job's done.
And I don't think this one's any exception. So starting with the Demon Companion, looking for that 2/2 taunt, gets the 2/2 taunt. I think you want to coin something out here. I think you probably want to coin out the health, I guess. You can make the case for the Divine Shield, but the Divine Shield is probably better if you hit the Brawler later on. So, yeah, just taking the extra health here makes a lot of sense. And a little bit awkward for Rizen. No Adorable Infestation or other cheap spell to pair with Intrepid Initiate, so...
And no way to play the Sharpshooter and utilize the hero power this turn.
Yeah.
That does not phase him, however. He's going to play both minions.
I think you kind of have to in this spot,
Sure.
because you're almost certainly playing a weapon next turn. So just having a 1/3 on the board for a couple turns, or at least to soak up a little bit of damage, is almost certainly the right play here.
I mean, I can see a counterpoint being that if you draw a cheap spell, you might, if you draw the Adorable Infestation, you can pop both of those initiates and then hero power, sure. Maybe you still just kill command, though, to go ahead and activate both of them, but not if they're just going to die here. Then, in that case, you're going to use the bow.
Yeah. It's interesting that Koroden is choosing to leave up the Sharpshooter, but I think I like it because if your opponent is using 2 mana on the hero power at this stage, they're not developing, they're not playing weapon, they're not probably killing anything more. So
Correct.
I think it's a good call to kill the higher threat minions and leave up the Sharpshooter and sort of bait your opponent into spending mana inefficiently.
And we will almost, as you mentioned, almost certainly see the Eelhorn Bow here, clear off the 2/3. And I would guess he's probably going to use this to clear off the 2/1, knowing that the hero power will go into the 1/1 next turn. No, he's just going to go ahead and take the trade and leave the Sharpshooter on board. I guess it does effectively deal 1 damage, but then again, it makes you take 1 more damage than you otherwise would have this turn.
Yeah.
Phase Stalker's a big pickup. That's right on time for Rizen. He wants to use that, I'm sure, this turn and go ahead and draw one of those explosive traps out of the deck.
Yeah, this is where having only one type of trap pays off, because it's
Very
absolutely the trap you want in this matchup.
Yeah, this is definitely an explosive trap matchup for sure.
It's an interesting development of Koroden's hands, both Marrow Slicers and both Twin Skulls, or Skulls of Gul'dan here, presents a game state that might end up causing this game to last longer than either of us thought. It is a lot of damage coming back from Koroden with those 2 weapons, but should Rizen be able to push damage himself and force Koroden to make trades as opposed to just going face, then those Soul Fragments come into play, and we might see a game that lasts longer than 7 or 8 turns, potentially. Although those 2 skulls might say otherwise. So
Interesting here, use the Phase Stalker, knowing again, there's no way for you to draw a second secret here. I kind of think that maybe you just hero power there, throw down the tour guide, so that way your next hero power is free.
you just want a 4/5 on the board.
I mean, I guess you do. It's just probably just going to get tanked here by the weapon, which I guess is it hitting face for 4. But
Right.
now you don't have another way to draw that second explosive trap out of your deck when Koroden does eventually go to attack here, and that's really what's keeping him at bay right now. Oh, and the
wow,
draws
what a
keep
draw.
coming.
That's a big pickup here.
Humongous. That's like a soft clock now for Koroden, knowing that if he doesn't start doing something, Rizen's going to just get 6 damage off of his hero power, or off of the quest, I should say, and he's just going to keep hero powering anyway. Second Marrow Slicer. Og Merchant will keep it alive, keep the battlefield alive.
Yeah, I think this is a good call.
Yeah,
This
Koroden
way,
knows.
yeah.
However, is it too little too late? Because he's going to take 2 here. There's 2 charges of weapon. There's a kill command in hand that's representing 13 damage right now with a hero power. If a beast is picked up, it's not a beast, it's a Felmaw.
I think what he's banking on is putting the maximum number of Soul Fragments in his deck before he skulls. Even though it kills a discount, it does heal him. And that might be what this match comes down to.
Now, can we clear the 3/1 if you're Rizen at this point? He votes yes. And I think that's the right move, though, is that you've got the Leper Gnomes popping out next turn.
There's a reason this deck is called Face Hunter, so it never feels good when you're hitting something other than the face, but it's definitely an argument to make that was the correct call.
And here comes the Skulls. Twin Slice for free. There's a Soul Fragment. And only 1 Soul Fragment. Alright, Cult Neophyte.
It is unfortunate that the Soul Fragment ate the discount on the Brawler as opposed to the Neophyte, because I think he much would have preferred the taunt in this situation.
I agree completely.
So is he going to have lethal coming back here this next turn? He's got 2 Twin Slices in hand? Oh, almost certainly. So,
Oh, the
taunt
zone.
Oh, wow. So this is a tough choice now because... No, it doesn't matter because of King. So, this is going to be game 5 for Koroden. There's no line here that prevents Rizen from dying next turn.
Isn't there, though? I mean, if you... Wait, 3, 5, 7, 9... No, it is 11 damage, isn't it?
Yep.
Forgot about the whole Twin Slice is 2 damage now instead of 1.
Yep.
An
That's
exciting series.
Yeah, everyone always... I mean, I think we got over this pretty quick, but when Twin Slice was first quote-unquote nerfed, people looked at it and said, wait a second, this isn't actually
This is not
bad.
a nerf!
Yeah. And it plays out that way in this game. And Koroden takes the series 3-2 over Rizen.
Yeah, Rizen's about to find out the bad news. He thought he was in great shape and just says, hey, just don't have the exact 3 cards you need. But that's exactly what Koroden has, and it's the Kane Twin Slice combo right to face for... Wait. Yeah, for 12 damage. I was like, that's... I was like, wait, he hasn't attacked the Kane yet. That is still in play, so that is 12 damage.
Kane also goes face.
Kane does go face. Kane loves to go face. Very rare to see him not go face, and you know, it's the right play sometimes, but it's definitely the right play when it equals lethal.
So unfortunately for you and AEON and your teammate Rizen, things did not go the way you would have preferred. So looks like that series is going to come down to Neji Boston versus Phoenix. I don't know if they're playing tonight or tomorrow, but it's for all the marbles.
It is, it is. I have confidence in Neji, though. He's doing great on ladder. He's been great in THL, so hopefully that is still going to be a win for AEON. But either way, a good win for Canadian Clown Fiesta to score a ton of points here in this matchup, win or lose. Both teams looking all right out of the gate so far. Canadian Clown Fiesta better than AEON at the moment, so that's, yeah. That's a great 5-game series to open the night. We're just getting started here. That's only our first series. We've got 2 more matches to go.
And this next one is quite the showdown between respective 1 seeds for the Booty Bay Yacht Club and F2L Black and LotusKnight and Itachi. Should be an outstanding series. I'm definitely excited to get this one started.
Yeah, and I will get everything set up here in just a second. But any last thoughts you have on that that Rizen and Koroden series before we move on?
I think it was just a really good showcase of the stats don't always dictate how matches go. We saw a couple unfavored win in that series, so it's always important to take every matchup seriously and not just think, oh, hey, I got the matchup I wanted. This looks great, because you have to play it out. And even the most, you know, and at least in this matter, the most unfavored matchups are still like 55-45. So by no means a sure thing. So and we got to see it play out. I think both players played pretty well. I think the games that were lost weren't necessarily lost on the backs of any bad decisions, just little, you know, small things here and there that, you know, sometimes you don't even see the GMs making those kinds of decisions. So I think it was a good series, good showcase of different decks, and good way to start the night.
Absolutely. Well, let me go ahead and switch us on over. And now you should see our matchup here coming up is Itachi versus LotusKnight. Itachi of F2L, of course, and LotusKnight of the Booty Bay Yacht Club. They are both 1-0 to open the season here, and now we are switching gears to Hero. So Hero is our last Hero standing series, which means rather than winning with every deck, you just have to not lose with every deck in your lineup, and we do not yet know what the bans are. I have notified the players that they are ready to join up, ban up, and in the meantime, we can discuss what we think is going to happen here.
All right, so for LotusKnight, he brought Demon Hunter, Hunter, Mage, and Warrior. For Itachi, he has Druid, Paladin, Rogue, and Warrior. So once again, we are going to see quite the showcase of decks, as there's only 1 class in common between the 2 lineups, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it banned from one side or the other. It's interesting that Paladin seems to make much more of a presence in Hero than it does in some of the other series, just because of how well it answers certain decks, being able to pick your matchup. And that is definitely the case here, as 8 of the 10 players between the two teams brought Paladin, and 9 out of 10 brought Warrior. So Warrior continues to be just a dominant presence in any series, but certainly in the Hero side, with both these players bringing Warrior tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited for this matchup. LotusKnight has been phenomenal in THL throughout the course of his entire career, and Itachi as well. But Itachi in particular has been very potent in Hero Series. He ends up being one of the guys who I see sweep more often than anyone else. However, he also gets swept quite a bit. So I'll be interested to see how this first game goes, because I feel like that's the most important in a lot of the last Hero Standing series, since if you queue in like an even-ish matchup and then you lose it, you lose the potential to counter queue down the line if you really went all in on a single strategy, which might be what happens with Itachi sometimes. So hopefully for his sake that is not the case, and hopefully for our viewers' sake we end up getting a very exciting series tonight.
Yeah, I think we will. Just looking at the way these lineups match against each other, I would expect this to be a long series with the customary back and forth that you often see in the Hero format. I probably expect LotusKnight to ban Itachi's Paladin. His only answer to it is the Mage. It's unlikely that Itachi would ban Mage, but at the same time, if you're LotusKnight, you want to take that chance knowing that 3-year classes line up pretty poorly against Paladin. And then on Itachi's side, looking at the classes for Lotus, it's kind of a mixed bag. There's not one particular class that jumps out at me as being difficult for Itachi's lineup to handle. So it may just be a preference on his side. He just doesn't want to see a warrior here or a demon hunter, for example. I would guess one of those two would be the Mans. I think he's got potentially decent options against the hunter, which is another frequent ban on the hero side. This is kind of a polarizing deck choice.
We are just looking for we have paging Itachi right now, paging him to the arena. We don't have to fine you $500, my friend. So let's hope he gets here soon enough. Lotus did say he's ready to go, so we will be getting those bans, I would hope, in the near future. Just to shift gears here, of course, and give you kind of a rundown on where these two teams are at in their series. Right now, the Chronic beat 2-star Mako 3-1 for F2L, but then Boozosaurus answered back with a 3-2 win over Rabobson. So at the moment, F2L is in the lead slightly 6-5, and this will be the third match of the series to be played. So there's nothing that's going to decide the series tonight in this matchup. However, F2L can take a pretty strong lead even with a 3-2 win, because that would give them a 10-7 lead going into the final two matches, with Markshire still to play Blue Sombrero, which is a fantastic matchup on paper, and Kazargar to play Scritch. Kazargar, one of the finer rookies of last season, and Scritch, one of the finer low seeds to ever grace THL period. So a couple of really high-powered matchups in this one to still come, and we're lucky to have one of these on stream tonight ourselves.
Yeah, both teams coming off a win in week 1, so looking to establish themselves as the premier team on the purple side. Granted, we do have quite the collection of really good teams in the purple conference for Hero this season. So every match is going to be super critical, and being able to knock off one of your key rivals, definitely something you want to take advantage of, especially in a shortened season. So a lot riding on this match tonight, even though, like you said, doesn't necessarily decide this specific series. It will go a long way towards establishing which of these teams could be on top of purple going into week 3.
And hey, if nothing else, it's still a tiebreaker over your opponent too. So keep in mind, if the points are tied at the end of the season, whoever wins the regular season matchup is the team that will get the nod. So you like to think in week 2 that doesn't come into play, but it's come into play a couple times in the last few seasons in multiple series where a team has been tied with another, and it all comes down to who won in the regular season. So it is definitely something that with two teams that have playoff aspirations such as these both do, you're going to want to make sure you win over those other playoff-bound teams or likely to be playoff-bound teams. So, yeah, as you mentioned, F2L gets 20 points in Week 1. Booty Bay gets 15, both of them winning, which means as of right now, if we only played a one-week season, they would both be playoff teams. But this season is far, far from over at this point.
All right, looks like they are getting ready to begin Game 1. Any word yet on the bands?
Nothing yet. Just have them in the preparing stage. So we'll keep delaying the inevitable. And just as a reminder, this is a triple header tonight, so we do have another match coming up after this. That is going to be another hero, also a purple division match. So it's going to be your teammate Clarity and BrushyTuna of the Advanced Tactical Lackeys. I always forget which ATL is in Hero. It's Advanced Tactical Lackeys is ATL. So that's a 5-seed matchup there. Clarity, I believe this will be his first stream appearance. Brushy, it'll be his first stream appearance of Saturday, because he's on stream all the time, both as a caster, and he's recently picked up time on Hearth Center, which I greatly appreciate. His willingness to jump in before he ends up being taken away from us for quite some time due to his deployment. So, Brushy, you know I like to bag on you, my friend, but you're a good guy, and I only want the best for you, as long as it doesn't mean I have to call you in here for an interview after the game.
I do not want the best for Brushy tonight, since he is playing my teammate on my hero roster. That being said, Brushy is my teammate on the pro roster, so I do otherwise wish him well. Just not tonight.
Just not tonight. And we will, of course, be excited to bring you that. Hopefully, we are not too far behind on schedule. Of course, we try to have the matches take about an hour, but it's Hearthstone. It happens. So maybe we see a sweep in this series, and it goes a lot quicker. Still waiting on word from the player. Actually, they messaged me in Discord, I believe. And if I look in Discord, I will break the cams.
Oh, interesting. We can let them know to message you in game.
Yeah, if you could get the bans instead, so I do not have to mess with Discord, that would be phenomenal, please.
I will work on that right now.
Thank you. In the meantime, I will say thank you to everybody who's tuned in tonight. We're happy to have you show up on a Saturday evening to spend time with myself and Icicles watching some fantastic Hearthstone. If you have not done so yet, please do consider subscribing to the channel. If you have Twitch Prime, it is free, and it allows us to continue to provide better content, better prize pools in the off-season for events, and just in general allows us to expand THL into more directions than we currently are. So it's always appreciated. If you haven't done so, please consider also turning on notifications so that when we go live. We always try to let you know. But Rip Carlbot, and thanks again for coming out.
All right, so I do have an update on the bans.
Love it.
I did correctly predict that LotusKnight was banning Itachi's Paladin, and it was for the reason that I thought might have happened, or didn't really predict, but Itachi bans LotusKnight's Mage. So, a good call by LotusKnight to eliminate that possibility of the Paladin sweeping him if the Mage was out of the picture. Because Itachi did, in fact, ban LotusKnight's Mage.
And what was Itachi's banning, or what is Itachi's banned class?
Itachi's Paladin is banned.
Sorry, I know you mentioned that, and
no, okay.
I was just making sure I was clicking the correct buttons. That should be reflective now on the screen. So as you mentioned, yes, no Mage for Lotus. No, I'm sorry, you said Mage for Lotus, and somehow I clicked the wrong thing.
My game just crashed, but I told them they could start. So perfect timing by me.
Very good, very good. So we will, again, this is now we're shifting over to Hero. Not only is it Last Hero Standing instead of Conquest, we also don't know these lists. This is not an open list series, so we will be finding out just alongside all of you what the players are actually playing here tonight. And we'll have Itachi on the bottom of your screen. LotusKnight will be on the top. I see them heading in. So let's get it on series number 2. Itachi, LotusKnight.
Let's go.
Malfurion.
My game restarted just in time.
Demon Hunter.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I am determined to win this.
I must protect the wild.
Itachi with the Malagos in his opening hand tells you what kind of druid he's running. And it looks like Lotus has the aggro demon hunter. So this is going to be similar to the match we just saw on the pro side. Let's see if anything changes. If the demon hunter can get over the hump this time. A little bit of a stronger start from Lotus than what we saw before. So definitely going to put some immediate pressure
Absolutely.
on Itachi.
Sorry, it took me a second to get the LotusKnight's cards up because friendless bug is a thing.
You hate to see it. But now you can see it.
Hate to see now, but now you can see it. We can see these cards.
And this is just a really tough opening hand for Itachi. All the expensive stuff in his hands, no immediate removal for any of these minions, and LotusKnight is not going to let up anytime soon.
Just pour on the damage, absolutely.
And he picks up the Neophyte as well, which is going to be really critical, I think, to stopping Itachi from even pretending to answer any of this. I wouldn't be surprised to see if I just get jammed here, knowing that we're going into turn 4, prevent an overgrowth. But this is like the nightmare scenario for Druid.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're Itachi, there's really nothing you can do. You are drawing while you're beasts. You don't have your ramp. You're not going to be able to play Guardians for at least 2 turns, but by the time you can, the rate you're drawing beasts, it's not even going to do anything. The game might be over.
Hey, I got you, friend.
That's an upgrade. Probably.
It's going to be over next turn. That's going to be that. I mean, even a teacher's pet, I don't think is enough. Wow. Aggro Demon Hunter making a strong showing right away in the Zero matchup.
Not even much to say about this one. I mean, this is a 2.5 minute game right here.
Sometimes you just hit the nuts, and that's that. LotusKnight takes game 1.
Unbelievable. As quick as we started the series.
I will note that I also won game 1 against Itachi, and then he proceeded to run me out of the series the rest of the way. So certainly is at least his MO for the early weeks of the Hero Circuit. We'll see what he decides to respond back with. Depending on what type of warrior he has, that might be the choice. But if it's a bomb warrior, then this could be up to the road to save off the aggro Demon Hunter. It'll be interesting to see what Itachi has to counter this. So he has decided to go with the warrior. So I wonder if that means then that his rogue is not geared to dealing with this. It might be a secret rogue, which I think is the weakest of the 3 primary archetypes in dealing with the aggro Demon Hunter, but Bomb Warrior is not in a great spot either. So no, it looks like an Egg Warrior. I see Terran Gorfiend, so this should actually be very favored in Itachi's way.
Someone's gotta lead the charge.
BrushyTuna also pointed out I made the joke about us finding Itachi, and he said it was 1,000. It was 1,000 because he never showed up at all. It's 500 if you show up late, so you get it right, BrushyTuna.
So not quite the explosive start we saw last game from LotusKnight, but still a pretty decent one, getting the battle fiend out early, giving something for Itachi to worry about. But picking up the hand card, really nice, because that just almost certainly locks in Itachi doing the skipper when he needs it, and being able to answer this battle fiend. Really big pickup. Go ahead and uses the Inner Rage to pick off the last minion. So pretty good start for Itachi here to stem the early tide. LotusKnight will probably just answer what he's got in his hand, just play all his mana, buff that Amani Berserk, which is one of the more reasonable minions for Lotus to have a lot of health on, considering Itachi's primary way of clearing minions is to do periodic damage to them, one swing at a time, and doing that to the Amani Berserker buffs it up, so not too bad from LotusKnight's perspective. Uses the Mirror Slicer here to take out the Bomb Wrangler, and see if he trades in the 2/5 to the bomb, just to buff it, and hope it doesn't hit him. Well, 4 to the face. I mean, face damage from the Warrior is not necessarily the end of the world, but yeah, definitely probably would have preferred that to hit a little bit weaker, but also probably preferred to hit face for any amount rather than taking out his minion. So now Itachi looking through his options. He does have one skipper. Goes to the South Sea Captain to start with. Surprised he didn't play. I guess he's saving the Sky Raider for a potential skipper turn coming up here. Kind of forcing Lotus to just put damage into minions instead of Itachi's face. He goes with the Altruist here, almost a tempo Altruist, just to put more pressure on. Maybe he thinks that Itachi doesn't have the skipper, or maybe he just felt like that was the only option he had to continue to put this pressure out. But Itachi with the immediate answer of skipper, Hammersmith, and Global Brutes to clean up this board and really put LotusKnight in a terrible spot. Cold Neophyte, not super helpful. See what he decides to do with his Twin Slice, which minion he wants to clear out. Brute definitely makes sense, representing the biggest threat immediately, but that Skipper Hammersmith combo is still a long-term damaging. So Itachi attacks right away. I wonder if there was ever any consideration to playing out the Rampages or playing Karen Gorfiend before the Skipper died. This is an interesting sequence here. I think he really could have done anything he wanted at this point, but I'm curious about this particular line to not preserve the Skipper within the Karen Gorfiend. I don't think it really matters at this point. I think he's far enough ahead with really nothing from the Aggro Demon Hunter that even seems close to threatening him whatsoever, but picks up the Livewire Lance, just push a little extra damage. I think this is really just a formality at this point. So hopefully Donde has been given enough time to get our cast ready for the third series, because this one is just flying by.
No, I am not.
That's game 2 to Itachi, so so far so good on the theoretically long Hero series, although the speed at which these two players are playing may sort of negate that.
Yeah, if they could calm down just a little bit, that would be great.
I don't think so. I mean, they're not quite at the ridiculous hat level, but I think both these players know what they want to do, feel pretty good about their decks and their matchups, and are not going to waste too much time. So LotusKnight with the choice between the Warrior and the Hunter. I'm guessing that's going to be a Face Hunter, because this Warrior, oh, this is a big Warrior. Maybe a Control Warrior. We'll see what other options present themselves. Double Troublemaker. So I think this is going to be a big Warrior. It should be favored into the Enraged Warrior. Generally speaking, the heavier warriors often do better against Enrage and Bomb Warrior. I think Bomb Warrior actually is the weakest in the sort of delta between the different warrior decks. But we'll have to see how it plays out. Enrage Warrior can put out enough pressure early to get underneath the big warrior before the big taunts come out. And we see that potentially here from Itachi with the option to Rampage his Tolveer and start pushing a lot of damage, especially if he's able to copy it the next turn. LotusKnight right now with no good option. Bladestorm is not viable here because of the 1-2 on board, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him armor up and shield slam the 1-2 just to clear the way for a potential Bladestorm next turn. And so that might present Itachi with the option to go ahead and copy the 5-6 while using that 3-mana 2-2 as another defense against the Bladestorm. But he goes with the Corsair Cash instead and plays the other Tolveer. So Tolveer number 2 is the defense against Bladestorm for Tolveer number 1. Still pushing the damage. So Lotus, is he going to take a 50-50 brawl here to kill one of them, or will he take the guaranteed kill on 2-3 with the Bladestorm? Kind of a tough place to be, just given he doesn't have much of a follow-up. At least not in hand. He's drawing most of his minions, which is not what you want to see this type of deck. You really want those minions to stay in the deck so that your commencements and potentially Dimensional Rippers can pull them out. Does opt to go with the Brawl and gets rewarded by killing the 5-6 off, so helps stem the tide a little bit. Let's see Itachi's choice now. He decides to copy this 2-3 He seems to be hovering over just to give him an extra card on the Battle Rage, or if he goes with the Livewire Lance that was buffed up by the Corsair Cache, and maybe some additional Lackey options that could be useful here.
So much.
And he chooses to do a 1-card Battle Rage. Interesting. Okay. Feels like he may be far enough ahead, but so LotusKnight picks up something he at least can play this turn, even if it's more likely to die next time. But there's no immediate follow-up in his hand, so I don't mind this. It does present a theoretical threat for Itachi, though a Vargoth on turn 5 going into turn 6 isn't really threatening anyway. So we'll see how much respect Itachi gets to it. I think the only threatening card that you'd really be concerned with is like the shield block from that Vargoth. So Itachi does give it respect, killing it with the swing of the weapon, the Cobalt Lackey, and it's 2-3. I'm just going to continue pushing this damage. Another minion drawn by LotusKnight. Man, just really not what you want to see with this deck. But at least he's able to clear up finally with the Whirlwind Bladestorm combination. So stops the bleeding for now, and really hoping that his next draw is Commencement. Itachi now, looking through his options, is most likely going to swing with the Livewire and then play the Horrible Soldier to bring it back. Chooses to go with the Faceless Lackey first, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this Soldier come down as well.
What more can I ask for?
Once again, both players just playing extremely quickly. I think for the most part it makes sense. Good positioning by Itachi there. Didn't mention that when he did it, but makes obvious here to stick the biggest minion in the middle, so that Reaper Scythe is not the easiest way to clear. But with Whirlwind being the activator, he's able to minimize the damage a little bit by hitting the 2 attack minions instead of the 4. So now Itachi, I think, is looking at a way of copying this Bomb Wrangler to try to push that last bit of damage, whether it's with the Inner Rage or with a Skipper play. I think that we're going to see a duplicated Bomb Wrangler here. And a nice draw of the Wishy Lackey here, Donde's favorite.
I love it.
Potentially put out more bombs. I think he actually saves it here just because of board space. Doesn't want to just kill off all of his Wranglers without generating the bombs from them. Lotus gets a very cheap blood blow for Root, but is that going to be enough? How much damage did he come back? 2, 4, 6, 7. I think this is going to be really close. 2, 4, 6.
Oh, the Inner Rage.
Yeah, no, that's lethal. It's just lethal on board.
Doesn't even need it.
Wow. Itachi, once again, defeating a Big Warrior with a not Big Warrior to take a commanding 2-1 lead in a Hero Series, and LotusKnight will be looking at his Hunter as his last gasp before making this series competitive.
Yeah, as quick as that first game went, and then Itachi just had nothing that he could do. I think we're seeing that when Itachi gets some cards that are playable, he's pretty potent.
And like I said, judging by the fact that Lotus queued up his Warrior, I mean, obviously the Big Warrior was the clear choice there going against the Enraged Warrior, but I don't expect this Hunter to be a good counter to the Enraged Warrior. And it looks like it's going to be a Face Hunter, so this one's going to be pretty tough for LotusKnight to overcome. A really good start for Itachi with double Tolvir and Rampage. Throws most of the back, keeps only 1 Tolvir. Okay. So I guess not knowing what Hunter you're going up against, you want to be maybe a little more aggressive for getting Inkar or Skippers and things like that.
Let me work my magic.
Once again, we will see a lightning face from these players, both knowing pretty much exactly what they want to do. Itachi actually deciding not to do anything, which probably makes sense.
Nothing but a bunch of big bears.
you have a little time to be patient in this matchup. You're really looking for those skippers to clear out most of the board. And it looks like his patience is going to be rewarded being able to play the Tolvir and the, what is that new card called? Shield of Honor card I clearly have played a lot of since the expansion released.
You know, I found that it's actually a pretty good little combo card in this Enraged Warrior deck. Enraged Warrior hasn't been as popular, which I think is mostly owed to the fact that it's not an exciting new archetype. I mean, then again, neither is Bomb Warrior for that matter. But it really didn't add a whole lot of new cards to the deck. So if you wanted to play with new cards in this expansion, you probably weren't playing Enraged Warrior.
Right. So interesting, Lotus there decides to opt for the weapon to clear out the 5/3 instead of playing out the face stalker and potentially hero powering down the minion. But this might be his best bet in terms of a long-term strategy, such that it is just to save the face stalker for an upcoming turn. Again, not knowing the list, we don't know what secrets are in, if any secrets are particularly potent in this matchup. But so it gets a pack deck. It's actually a pretty good one for this matchup of all the choices. So Itachi now not quite under all the pressure, although this pack deck is going to increase that pressure somewhat dramatically, considering that Itachi doesn't have a whole lot of defense or presence of his own, but that Rush Lackey is a really good pickup here.
Very good pickup. One of the best, I think probably the best Lackey he could have generated off of that attack.
It's really in that situation after the pack tactics was triggered. Now Lotus probably getting a Wolpertinger off of this Scavenger's Ingenuity, and the choice is, does he want that and to play it, or does he want the Face Stalker with a free hero power?
I would think with that Eelhorn bow up, you probably want to just go ahead and get a secret down. Continue to make it harder for Itachi to play around certain things, and also give you the ability to pump up that bow. And we see it's an explosive trap.
Yeah, so it might not be the one that gives him an extra charge of the Eelhorn this turn, but it could be useful down the line, depending on if he loses this board or not.
I wonder, is he going to try to do some Gore Fiend shenanigans here with the bombs?
I probably would expect this brute to come down and then basically just clear up what's left. Maybe you get lucky with the bomb blowing up the face stalker so you can keep the health on here. Now it opts to guarantee the damage go face.
Gets 3.
Yeah, so now this is an awkward spot for Lotus because he really is not ever going to be able to answer the 5/6. I'm guessing he might have preferred to have the Repa from this Demon Companion just to push additional damage and not block his opponent from hitting him in the face. But just a big drop.
3-card draw, yeah, 3-card draw with the Battle Rage.
Much rage.
Let's see how he decides to play this.
I kind of like hitting first with the 5/6, yeah. I think that's the right move, and then hope it does. Well, at least if it's going to go face, do 4 damage, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I may have wanted to run into the minion first to increase the chances that I hit a minion, but I guess with the minions being at 3 health, your odds weren't particularly great. And it looks like Lotus might be able to scrap out enough damage here, unless Itachi can pick up an Armor Smith here. Even that might be close.
Warmaul Challengers, not an Armor Smith. The question now becomes, would you Draconic Lackey here and try to find a taunt? Because you can take out 2 of these Wolpertingers, and then you're left with 3 plus the 2 hero power, so even your own hero power does not get you out of range. So I think that's really... Or Sky Raider. Maybe a Sky Raider into a Corsair. Dread Corsair would be a taunt that could at least make this game last 1 more turn.
Someone's gotta lead the charge.
Sky Raider it is. Parachute Brigand is not a taunt.
The only problem is, I mean, you have to clear this board, but that leaves you with nothing left, and the hunter can pull any number of cards to finish this game.
Alexstrasza. Not good
Still
yet,
needs
but
to
if
lift.
he makes it.
Yeah. Hero powering every turn now. Basically put LotusKnight on drawing some form of immediate damage, which
Oh, and
could be
some form.
could be.
It's not a huffer. It's always
Never
a huffer.
huffer.
How is it not a huffer?
2 for 2 on Face Hunter, getting the taunt version of the companion. So giving Itachi just that little extra chance to survive. Rampage to clear up the 4/4, and I don't think you can attack with these other minions.
Oh, he absolutely cannot attack. I
Knowing
don't think
you have
there's
the
a situation where he
Alexstrasza
ever
in
does.
hand, yeah, I think you just wait. Maybe you play the Brigand to help fight for the board, just to put it down, but yeah, you definitely can't swing here.
And this is the turn for LotusKnight. He needs that second bow or some other damage. Polkelt is not other damage. However, it will put those kill commands near the top. It's going to go ahead and put, I assume, Dragonbane in the list right at the top.
Yeah, so the next few draws for Lotus should be, if the most likely list is here, then Dragonbane, followed by a mix of maybe a second Animal Companion, definitely a second Eagle Horn Bow, the 2 kill commands that we would expect to see.
Perfect ordering there by Itachi, too, to take that extra damage and then heal it up with the Alexstrasza, get that max heal.
Does it go face? Oh, it does not.
Face. It looks like Itachi may have stabilized at 1 HP. Never finding that armor smith.
Yeah, the extra insult here of not the 5 damage not going face is it also gives Itachi the opportunity to rampage this Alexstrasza if he wants, just to finish this game 1 turn faster. I mean, more likely he was always going to be able to end this game the next turn, but kind of guarantees it with this line. Yeah, there's no card in LotusKnight's deck that's going to be able to not here. Can't do 13 damage. Even a kill command's not going to be able to kill the Alex. So
Face Hunter's good, but it's not that good.
Itachi once again winning 3-1 after losing the first game. Seems to be a trend that he will be more than happy to continue all season long.
Yeah, impressive run. He lost that first game so quickly, and it just seemed like there was no hope there. But he got his footing with the Warrior deck, and we saw a much quicker series in our first one, as a 3-1 win there for Itachi and F2L.
Yeah, it's really well played. Like you said, the Enraged Warrior hasn't been as popular since the expansion, but it's still a strong deck. It still has really good matchups. And Itachi just showed the potency of that deck. Still one that can be a top tier deck when piloted well.
Yeah, I think. I mean, as we talked about, not a whole lot of new cards in the deck. And yes, you have to learn the new matchups. But if you knew how to pilot it in the last meta, you still know, in general, what you should be doing against most decks in this meta. So definitely a deck that I think is underrated right now in THL. So maybe Itachi will bring it more to the forefront. And congratulations to him on getting his second win of the season. LotusKnight falling to 1-1 now. And well, we're a little bit ahead of schedule at this point here for match number 3. So still want to let the players know that we're ready for them when they are, if they are ready to go early. Any other thoughts you have on this series, Icicles, before we move on to focus on our final series of the evening?
I think it was really interesting by Itachi to ban Mage. It's not a common ban. It actually, of all the matches that have been played so far this week in Hero, it was the first Mage ban. So I think there's just an interesting respect that Itachi was putting on that particular deck. Maybe thinking that if LotusKnight didn't ban the Paladin, that it would be uncontested going through, or just maybe just gearing his classes in a certain way to not have to worry about either Turtle or Temple Mage, since it's such a huge disparity in those two decks for the Mage class. So definitely paid off, and interesting to see if that will start to be more common going forward. That Mage may be a class that people start to think a little differently about.
think it's certainly possible.
That being said, I did happen to look over on the teal side, and Mage is definitely up there in bans with 3. Not the most banned class by any means. That would be Warrior, but certainly a little more respect over there on the teal side. Or maybe they just played more matches and we have a bigger sample size to draw from. Who can say? Math is hard.
Math is indeed hard. I apologize, I'm just getting everything set up here for our final match of the evening.
Sure. Yeah, so we can go ahead and start talking about what we're going to see in this last match.
Definitely.
So we've got from DadLegend, the 5 seed Clarity, bringing Hunter, Paladin, Priest, and Warrior. And from the Advanced Tactical Lackeys, their 5 seed, who, what the heck is he doing as a 5 seed? Brushytuna, bringing Demon Hunter,
Sandbagger.
Hunter, yeah, seriously, Demon Hunter, Mage, and Paladin. So I do happen to know what Clarity is banning, but what do you expect to see from BrushyTuna in this matchup?
For his ban, I mean, it looks like maybe a Paladin ban, maybe a Priest ban out of BrushyTuna this time around.
Yeah, I think both of those are pretty reasonable options. I think those 2 classes that, depending on who's kind of putting the lineups together, we didn't see a single Priest from the ATL side, but over on DadLegend, we brought it ×4. So a little bit of a different take on what hero, what's good in hero. ATL definitely deciding on the Hunter Paladin combo with all 5 of their players bringing both classes. So they clearly had something in mind there. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Brushy ban either the Paladin or the Priest. I think both are solid options based on what he has, and we'll have to wait and see. So I see Brushy online as well as Clarity, so we should be able to get the actual info here from both of them pretty soon. So far this week, only one match has been played. It was Starlax taking a 3-1 win over Rizen. So DadLegend with the early 4-1 lead, hopefully getting off to a better start this week than last week when F2L decided to basically pick up where they left off last season and just trouncing us. So definitely happy to see that first win of the week. Now Clarity is going to certainly have his work cut out for him against Brushy. Clarity coming in as a 50 PR, which has kind of been where DadLegend has looked for that 5 seed, at least last season with her. So Clarity continue that tradition. But BrushyTuna with the 281 PR, should Clarity get this victory, he would be an early frontrunner for the BGH title. So I'm absolutely rooting for him, not only as a teammate, but also just to kind of put Brushy on the wrong side of the BGH award, because that would be entertaining for just about everyone in THL.
Much like Deathwing, you are ready to embrace the chaos.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's always fun to see these matchups of players that are, there's such a huge disparity. It seems like there's almost more pressure on the player with the higher PR, because you would expect, everyone kind of has you as the favorite, and that it's just kind of not, I guess, not assumed that you'll win, but like almost worse if you lose as far as the expectations for your team, maybe banking on those 4 points.
Yeah, certainly that added pressure. When you're an over PR 5 seed, it definitely adds that sort of extra layer of expected performance that you know that because your PR is higher in that seed, that your teammates might be a little under PR. Now that doesn't always be the end all be all of indicators of who's doing well or any particular meta or any particular player, but at the same time, like, it's a very visual thing to see, hey, I have a much higher PR than my opponent every single week. And if my record doesn't reflect that, then what am I doing? And it can definitely get into certain players' heads. That being said, I don't think that's the kind of player that Brushy is. I think he just kind of goes in, guns blazing every single match and doesn't really care too much about who he's playing or what their PR is. He's just doing what he does. So, but certainly something to keep in mind for other players. So.
I can tell you from firsthand experience with Brushy is the type of player who wants to have a good time no matter the outcome. So he's just here to have fun.
Absolutely true. All right, still waiting for They have moved on to the challenge screen, so I expect that we will get this ban information here shortly.
Yeah, we were waiting for Clarity to report to the tavern. He is online now.
I'll go ahead and message the players to get their ban info.
Yes, please.
They're currently in progress, doing their little bubble screenshots, trading them on Discord like good little THLers.
Always like to see that procedure is being followed. And as you mentioned, this is a 4-1 lead for DadLegend right now. Just a second match of the series. Both teams looking to pick up their first win as a team this season and get themselves back up into the upper echelons of that purple conference. So it's a big one here for Brushy. Really wants to even the score, or at the if possible, sweep and take the lead for ATL this week.
Yeah, we'll certainly know more about the series. Not only is Clarity playing BrushyTuna right now, but I believe Yellow Dart and Pond are playing their match right around the same time. So we're going to get a lot of momentum in the series one way or the other. Bias aside, I definitely want Yellow Dart and Clarity to win. That actually is the bias. So, and we have our bans. So Clarity, his Warrior is banned. For BrushyTuna, his Paladin is banned. So not exactly what we were expecting from BrushyTuna's side. But the Paladin ban for Clarity does make a lot of sense. I think something that we've seen when the players that bring the Hunter Paladin combo usually is one or the other that gets the ban because of the suite of matchups that those two classes generally excel at. So.
Well, all right. We've got the bans in. They're showing up on screen. The players are ready to go. We are a little bit ahead of pace tonight, so let's go ahead and get match number 3 of the evening rolling, and we will have BrushyTuna on the bottom, Clarity on the top.
Waiting for that first game to start, so we can jump in to spectate. Hopefully the friends list doesn't just flip out all over the place.
Let it cooperate. We've made it so far tonight. We've made it. We've made it to spectate mode every time, but nothing is guaranteed. All right, we are hopping in.
Arana versus Tyrande.
Alright, and so we've got Clarity starting off on the Priest, and Brushy starting off on a Demon Hunter, which looks like an aggro Demon Hunter. And for Clarity, I do believe this is going to be the Highlander Priest.
My greetings.
Brushy has options to start here, but Battle Fiend is always a good one.
Yeah, I think turn 1 Battle Fiend is almost always going to be a choice, especially when you're holding both Umberwing and Guardian Og Merchant. You can take either option. So for Clarity's side, looking at this, kind of would like to have seen a coin Wand Maker just to contest this right away, knowing that they're the only really good way to deal with that might have been the Og Merchant. Even that is not a clean option. So Brushy covering this mana burn makes me think he's going to play the Og Merchant to follow, or he's going to attack, try to put out the early damage. So holding that Reader in hand, I wouldn't have been surprised. I've been surprised to see him play it, but I guess he still can next turn.
Yeah, he could Og Merchant Umberwing, just get max power on board next turn.
So Clarity 2 options. You can play the Penance here to kill off the Battle Fiend directly, or you can opt for the Wand Maker to contest it. I take that back. You can't do anything because you have no mana. That was the whole point of the mana burn. The numbers upside down are hard.
Probably.
I should also note that both of these players are very emote heavy in the early goings, and I did check to see if I could squelch them both. I can't. I can only squelch Clarity, and that just doesn't seem fair.
So the pickup of the Holy Nova, a really nice draw here. Clarity gives him a way of dealing with most of this board. It's probably worth doing, even though it doesn't kill the Battle Fiend, just to take some amount of pressure off, give yourself a little bit of healing, and then also set yourself up to potentially penance or some other means of dealing with that Battle Fiend. The other option here also could be the Shadow Madness if you want to just take a little bit less power off the board. I think if I do that, I'm running it into the Battle Fiend, but looks like he's going with a penance on the 2/1. Essentially, no, okay, Shadow Madness. I do like Shadow Madness better. I'd rather say that penance for a time where the mana works out better. I do like this running into the Divine Shield, so good start for Clarity, at least trying to stem this early tide. For Brushy, a little bit of a heavier draw and picking up the Marrow Slicer. Makes it a little harder for him to clear out his hand for this Reader, but it does represent a pretty decent amount of damage. It's now Clarity once again, kind of faced with the same choice as before. This is probably a good situation to penance and develop the Battle Fiend. Holy Nova isn't bad, but I think at the same time you also want to have something on the board as soon as possible, and that Battle Fiend is probably going to end up being a dead card over time. So Brushy with another expensive pickup off the Skull, having to float 2 mana to play this Reader. So it does give Clarity a little chance to get his footing if he's able to develop onto this board. And he might actually play the Cabal Acolyte here and steal this Reader as opposed to killing it, which that makes sense. This is definitely where I want to see a coin Battle Fiend, just to get some development going. Clarity agrees.
Dance, puppet.
Yeah, entering that phase of the game now where the priest knows that they're not immediately dead on any given real turn here. I mean, there's always the burst potential with the Twin Slices and of course Kane, but you know, Clarity's kind of establishing himself and he can start to really make the plays that he wants to make.
Yeah, definitely. So this sets up well for him. He has Penance for an easy answer onto this Brawler. He has One Maker to give him opportunity for Renews or Radiances or something else.
For info as well.
Yeah, that's not a bad choice. This tells him exactly what Brushy has in hand and what he needs to be aware of. I probably wouldn't be surprised to see him take the Altruist here, just because he is going to be able to generate a number of cheap spells. So yeah, so I don't necessarily mind doing it this way. The info is really valuable. Having to float mana when you had some other 2 mana options was also a choice. But let's see, Brushy might just have to play Altruist here. No, I take that back.
No,
Intrepid into the Skull.
Yeah, that 1 mana off the top allows him to Skull, and Clarity knows now. Oh, it doesn't get the discount.
Another
oh no!
One. So 2 for 2. Now, granted, these are pretty cheap cards, but certainly ones you would prefer to play for free instead of for 2 and 1 mana.
And the Vile Fiend comes alive this turn, so that Intrepid Initiate will be likely just chewed up here by the 3/5.
So if I'm Clarity, I just want to go ahead and drop this Altruist and Thought Steal and see if I get a cheap thing to follow up and just put as much pressure back on this Demon Hunter as possible. Don't let up whatsoever.
You
You just want to like put them on the back foot and make them respond to what you're doing,
Second Wave of Apathy.
which isn't bad. Certainly, the Demon Hunter does need to establish minions on the board, so having 2 waves is pretty solid. I like the Thought Steal here as well, just to see what you can do. But you're definitely at the point where you're the aggressor now, and so doing everything you can to kind of take advantage of that stance. And I almost want to heal the Vile Fiend, not my face, just for the same reason, just to keep that pressure on the board.
Yeah, that being said, I think keeping the Initiate off the board, knowing that Altruist is coming down this turn almost 100% of the time, just kind of feeding a few minions to the wolves that you probably could have just kept alive.
Yeah, I wonder if he was thinking that because the Skull's discounts were interrupted by the Soul Fragments, that it was less likely this Altruist was going to be as dominant as it was. Unfortunately for him, that was not the case. So yeah, he's going to be kind of in a tough spot now. Looking at the Soul Mirror, almost certainly as the answer.
And a Skull of Gul'dan as well. I'll say if that Altruist had been allowed to live, could have just been devastating. However, Soul Mirror is a great way to get rid of almost all the minions on board. Well, not almost all. 2 of the 4 minions on board. However, it does leave Brushy with a 4/1 and a
So you follow that up with
1/2.
the Wave of Apathy 100% of the time.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this isn't too bad. He takes care of the Altruist. It puts at least something in the way. I mean, it gets traded off pretty easily, but
Right.
you know, if he's not able to clear your reader as well, then you have the Apotheosis coming back. With that being said,
Twin
is this
slice.
just lethal? 5, 6, 10. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So Brushy will take game 1.
Yeah, the Twin Slice off the top was all he needed.
Excellent maneuvering.
And as we see, turns out Aggro Demon Hunter sometimes just gets there.
Yeah, even when the skull gets interrupted by soul fragments, doesn't matter, the minions still cost almost nothing.
And 1-0 Brushy. Not as quick as our first Demon Hunter game of the last series, however. Still a quick win, and we're going to see that Demon Hunter get run back again because we are still in the last year standing format.
Yeah, so the Demon Hunter is probably going to present a challenge to Clarity. The options that he has left to deal with it are the Paladin and the Hunter. The Hunter is not necessarily favored, and the Paladin is pretty close to 50-50.
Yeah, I would guess Paladin here. You
Mhm.
really hope you can, if it's a Libram Paladin or a pure Paladin, you can get enough early on going that you can, survive till you get your big heals.
I will fight with honor.
Yeah, that's certainly what you want to see. And speaking of those big heals, starting with 1 in your hand, unfortunately you can't keep it just because you need the early game presence and
Right.
ability to discount it. Does keep 1 Hand of a Doll, and he's playing 2 times Call to Adventure. Okay, so he pretty much guarantees himself to get the outdoor, whatever the outdoor attendance.
Attendance, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And picks up Murgurgle.
Gives him something to do this turn just to have an immediate presence on the board. It's a little bit awkward for the Demon Hunter to deal with. Lets him play out his Hand of a Doll next turn as well. Does pick up 1 of the outdoors at least, so we'll see. I still think Hand of a Doll is the play here.
Yeah, it becomes a pain to remove.
And opts to trade. I think that's.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think that's okay because you're not the aggressor in this matchup. So
No, not even close.
with as many ways as Demon Hunter has to buff themselves or Twin Slice or something else to clear that off, probably want to take the trades where you can get them. So I wouldn't have been too upset if he had thrown a face either.
And Murder goes back into the deck as a prime version. Won't see him for a while, if at all. Goody Two
I have a
Shoes
couple
are off the top.
options, yeah. So I think Goody Two Shoes is definitely a play here, but he's going to be tempted to play Call to Adventure just because it's been sitting in his hand longer. So just knowing that it's been there makes him want to play. And I think this Outdoor 10 is probably the weakest of the options. It doesn't test anything on the board, doesn't put any pressure on Brushy whatsoever. Yes, it does give him a cheaper lead room, but you're either hero powering for a 1/1 or playing a 1-mana buff. And I think the Goody Two Shoes would have just been a stronger option just because of what it can test directly. So, and Brushy with the big pickup of the Marrow Slicer, letting him save his cane for potential lethal opportunity later down the line. The taunts are the only thing stopping them. So
I will say, if picking up the Libram of Hope there is not a bad thing. If we could get into Clarity's head a little bit, he might have been thinking, well, if I use the Attendant here, the Libram gets discounted, and then Abyss can be played in 2 turns, and active. Well, maybe not.
yeah, so this needs to be Call to Adventure because if you know you're getting that Attendant, you can drop a 3/5 and then buff it again. Certainly is a good sequence. It
Oh,
helps him
no
not to
buff?
play the buff. Not sure what he's afraid of that buff. There's
Well,
really
again,
no
maybe
reason
he's
not to play
figuring
it.
I need to have it in hand to be able to activate Abyss next turn.
Yeah, that's fair. That certainly would be the best consideration, but I think your 3/5 is almost always dying, one way or the other. I suppose Brushy could just ignore it entirely if he had buffed it. So yeah, that's a fair point. So good looking out as far as what the upcoming sequence will be.
The question becomes, what are you looking for off of Abyss? I mean, the heal in the
At this
Legion
point,
of
the
Hope
heal,
is
100%.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Even if it happens to heal your opponent, I mean, it is what it is.
you want that big body in front of everything that's happening right now.
Absolutely. Oh, the Devout Pupil.
It's not a bad pickup.
No, not at
Certainly
all.
not quite at the point where it's easily played now, but playing the Abyss
It'll be
here
cheaper.
along with the buff will make it cheaper. So certainly looking like a decent progression here if Clarity decides to go that route. And I think it is probably he's probably thinking to himself, what are my options here that I'm getting off of this Abyss? What's good? What's bad?
Having one Libram of Hope in hand is definitely a bad thing for him. And Hand of Adult, well, it's a draw. And it's a big Abyss.
Not the worst option, except the Braggart as well. So next turn looks pretty good. Not quite as good with Mana Burn. Soul Fragment eats this turn. Only on a 1 cost thing. Yeah, so this really kind of showcases that Soul Fragment interrupting Skull is not that big a deal when everything in your deck costs 3 or less. So.
And Brushy will opt to just continue to pour damage in, knowing that he can't take out that 6/9 at any real point easily enough that it's worth it for him. He'll just put taunts in the way.
Yeah. So I think this is an opportunity for Clarity to take 1-2 lines. He's hovering over the taunt, which makes sense when you feel pressure that you just want to put something in the way. I wouldn't have minded playing the Life Force Zealot here just to kill the 2/3 off, take more damage off the board.
Well, not only that, you can play the Braggart and get yourself a 6/9 Braggart.
So you wouldn't have been able to do that last turn because of the Mana Burn.
Oh, the Mana Burn. I forgot about the Mana Burn.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah, but you would have put more pressure on the board yourself. You would have healed up a little bit. I think either way, this is okay because Brushy's not going to want to commit the Cane right now because he doesn't have enough damage to push through. And next turn for Clarity, you get to play your Libram of Hope, which in your mind is your way of just sealing this game up. So Brushy would kind of a little bit of an awkward hand here to deal with this 4/5. You may end up having to play Cane anyway, and just basically bank on Clarity not having the answer to it. But considering Cane just dies on board, this is going to be kind of a tough situation for Brushy with that Libram of Hope coming down on the next turn.
Yeah,
it does push a lot of damage.
He's just hoping that that's not in hand is really his play at this point.
So
realize.
That being said, because of the buff on the taunt, Clarity is not going to be able to kill the Cane this turn. So he'll be able to heal up to 16, and Brushy's going to have 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, lethal coming back the other way. So
Twin Slice Marrow Slicer.
Yeah. So really strong play by Brushy there to figure how he could play the Cane and protect it at the same time. And the obvious play for Clarity, playing Libram of Hope, which I still think was the correct play. I mean, it's really the only thing you can do.
Yeah, he was kind of locked into it.
Yeah, because you couldn't take the option of playing the Libram of Justice because you just wouldn't have enough health, even if you did kill the Cane. The damage coming back the other way. That being said, that may have actually worked if he had done it that way. Because he still would have had his 4/5 taunt in the way, so you would have had a little bit less life to work with, but you wouldn't have had a Cane, and that Cane is representing the biggest threat. So Brushy takes game 2. That would have been a really tough read for Clarity to kind of work out that killing the Cane would have been enough to potentially seal this game with the taunts that he had, but well played by Brushy.
Ice will fall.
And there goes game 2, 2-0 Brushy. And by the way, Icicles, I have a surprise for you, one that you will not be able to see immediately. But you asked at the top of the broadcast if there would be a cat addition to the cast, and he has arrived. In between,
Outstanding.
he is here, so he's going to close out the cast for us tonight. Maybe, I don't know. He might just decide to leave.
I mean, let's be honest. The reason the cat is there is because he kept hearing the word tuna, and was enticed to join you with the expectation that he was getting tuna. So Donde, please don't disappoint your cat. Please feed it some tuna tonight.
I don't know if I have tuna in the house, man.
I am determined to win.
You're gonna have a very upset kitty now. Alright, so now we have the Agro Demon Hunter against the Highlander Hunter for clarity. And as was true in last expansion, this is a very heavily favored matchup for the Demon Hunter. So clarity really needed to get that win with the Paladin last game. Definitely was close, but this one's going to be an uphill struggle. And Brushy, with all the cheap cards in the world in his hand, plus the Reader, is really going to put a lot of pressure on clarity with not too much clarity he's going to be able to do to stop it right away, unless he draws his Zephyrus or something else.
I got you, friend.
Yeah, not only does Clarity have to win this match, or this game to win the match, he'll have to win all 3 in a row, reverse sweep with this Face Hunter. Or, sorry, not Face Hunter.
The Highlander Hunter,
Hunter. We've seen so many Face Hunters tonight, I just assumed that all Hunters were Face.
Right. I think all Hunters want to go Face, but some of them just do it more deliberately than others.
All Faces are Hunters, but not all Hunters are Face.
Yeah, this is kind of a tough call for clarity. You can play your Ooze now just to have immediate presence, which doesn't line up great into this board. You can choose to ping off a 1-2. It's just really not a lot of good options. The Scavenger's Ingenuity might give you something to do next turn if it brings out the Zephyrus. Or sorry, not the Zephyrus, the Zixor. But I don't know if that's guaranteed. I don't recall Clarity's exact list off the top of my head. So, but the mana burn is really going to make everything very difficult for Clarity next turn. And Brushy making really good use of the mana burns in this deck. Something that has just really been a thorn in Clarity's side every single key turn. That Clarity would have liked to have done something, just anything, to kind of stave off this aggression has been shut down by the mana burn. Another 1-drop, and Brushy can just dump his entire hand, continue to rush up this pressure on the Clarity.
Yeah, no, well, he's not going to dump the entire hand, he's going to keep that Battle Mage, but he does have the chance to go ahead and combine it with the Voracious Reader next turn. If he picks up another 1-drop, he'll just go ahead and get another 3 cards afterwards, so he's going to continue to reload.
Yeah, and so we see that Clarity does pick up the Zixor, but now that the Battle Fiend has Divine Shield, it's not quite as useful as it might have otherwise been.
I wonder.
So really, once again, stuck with a couple not great options. Spending all his mana would require playing Evasive Failing, which doesn't do much, and
sometimes
always tougher. So it takes the value trade. It actually makes sense. It clears a little bit of damage off the board, but unfortunately, doesn't stop Brushy's onslaught with this Battle Fiend continuing to just dominate this game.
And not only that, he gets more minions on board and draws 2 cards.
A really rough spot for Clarity to
Twin Slice and Marrow Slicer again.
Wow.
Brushy just on command just keeps drawing the heaviest damaging cards remaining in his deck every time.
Clarity does pick up the Zephyrus, but I don't know that it even does enough here. That Divine Shield on the Battlefield is just such a
what
massive.
Would it be that you're looking for? I mean, Frost Nova stalls it out.
Yeah, you probably could offer, I would guess, Soul Cleave, or Phantom Knives, okay. And SI Agent, I think you almost have to take the Phantom Knives here.
Yeah, it takes 4 damage off board.
Yep, just rid of the Divine Shield as well. There's really not a better option here amongst what he's been offered. And certainly it's better than anything in his hand that he can play right now. Because it at least allows him to deal with that Battlefiend the next turn. But man, What a rough spot to be in.
I move quickly.
Fan of Knives, it will be, and a Fairy Dragon is the draw off that fan, but Bone True Brawler right on time as well to protect the investment, and, well, not going to use the Twin Slice, just draw one card this turn, and send
he
the
wants
rest
to,
of it face, other than the...
Yeah, he was always drawing one card in that situation, and might as well save the Twin Slice for more damage because he was going to kill the Zephyrus,
Right.
so for the protect. But I mean, at this point, this looks like this game is about to wrap up.
Game and series, for that matter.
3, 4, 5. Yeah, I guess 5, 9, 11, 13. Yeah, there's no sequence here that keeps Clarity alive. Even if the Dragon Bane hits the Battle Fiend, there's still enough damage coming back the other way.
Right.
Between Mirror Slicer
Unbeknownst
and
to
Twin
him,
Slice.
of course.
Right,
He feels like
right.
there is a way, but
Yeah.
there is not a way, unfortunately.
Yeah. So as sometimes happens in the Hero series, the deck that wins the first game wins an unfavorable in the second game, and then easily cleans up the third game. And we get a 3-0 sweep for Brushy. Unfortunate for DadLegend.
Well
But as we kind of said at the outset, this was kind of the match that ATL would have looked at expecting to win, just due to the matchup in question. Clarity is certainly a good player and puts a lot into it, but Brushy does not need to be in the 5 seed and should immediately resume his correct seeding, hopefully. Yeah. So, congrats to Brushy and ATL for that win.
Before I could even message Brushy and ask if there's an interview, the boy's already sending me messages asking if he can interview.
Listen. Here's the thing. We didn't interview Koroden. We didn't interview Itachi. Why?
See, we always wait because we're trying to keep a schedule here. We don't want to be interviewing people in the middle and then delaying the later matches. So
what you're saying is that Brushy played the social media game here by scheduling his match as the last match, so that he could bogart the interview.
Absolutely. And
yeah, so he just messaged me to tell me to do the interview.
I kicked him out of the Salty Saturday group message just before. He's gonna come right in here and I'm gonna be real with you, Donde. I just really wanted to win the series because I want to talk to you and come on the interview. That's like 100% what he's gonna do here. So let's go ahead and get him invited.
All right, so THL viewers, you've been warned. Brushy is showing up on your screens once again. You thought you were done with him for this week. You thought you wouldn't have to listen to him again, but no. He's back.
Where is he?
It's astounding to me he hasn't just re-invited himself to this call.
Yeah, I don't know. And of course, he's going to jack up our cams.
Yeah.
Standard.
Yeah.
So Brushy, I just want to say that
turn it on.
We already confirmed that Donde is feeding you to his cats tonight. So you had a good run.
I've been fed. Oh man. I mean, I expect that. I mean, Donde said he didn't want to do an interview, and I knew as I was ending that last turn, I was like, oh, we got to do the interview now, only because Donde didn't want to do it.
Listen, I was joking. Obviously, you played a good series. Congratulations on the sweep there. So the pivotal game, we were talking about this. The pivotal game was that middle game of the 3, where that was really the one that he needed to win in order to kind of reclaim some sort of stability. And then you got exactly what you needed off of that Voracious Reader. So talk us through that a little bit.
I actually thought his most pivotal game was the Priest. I knew the minute he queued up Priest, I knew if I beat him with that Demon Hunter, it was going to be a clean sweep. And
so you have confidence in that Demon Hunter against Paladin?
Yes. Yeah. I'm like 16-0 against it on ladder. Like I have no worries about facing Libram Paladin with it because like the one mana burn, like a mana burn here or there, just like disrupts the whole gameplay, and then I just develop so far ahead that they can't they can't deal with it unless they have exactly Libram Consecration. But
it's definitely something we noticed in all 3 games where the mana burn was just extremely clutch.
Yeah.
Being able to shut down any answer that Clarity could have provided and giving you that leg out to close out each of those games.
Yeah, it just allowed me to flood the board to a point where Clarity couldn't deal with it anymore. So, I did think in that Paladin game though, I was like, when he started like pointing at his own face, I was like, please leave him or hope because you are 100% dead.
Yeah, we saw that too. There was a different line he could have taken that potentially could have kept him alive. I didn't go back and count exactly how it would have changed, but it would have been kind of a tough read to make that, just prioritizing killing a Kane is really what he probably needed to have done in that situation in any way he could have. So the option that he might have had would have been playing the Libram of Justice and then tanking the taunt.
Yeah. 1 minion into it,
right? So then
into it, and then traded the Kane. Yeah.
Yeah. So he still would have had a taunt with I think maybe 3 health left and 6 life. So it may not have been enough to survive.
No, it still would have had Divine Shield. It would have been a 4/5 taunt.
Right.
Divine Shield. So
yeah, so that might have been enough to at least stave off, and then Libram of Hope comes down the next turn without a Kane on the board. And that could have potentially swung the game back. But that's a really tough read to make.
It is tough. Yeah.
So
because I had to have, what was it, 9 bursts or 8 bursts?
All the damage that you had, the twin slice,
twin slice into Gladebound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was like 8 exactly that I needed after he killed the taunt. So that is still kind of tough to read into. But I did draw like 7 cards off that reader. Something ridiculous. So
well, the other thing too, the reader was good, but also one thing that was kind of noteworthy here is a lot of the talk coming into this expansion with the Aggro Demon Hunter and its interaction with Soul Fragments, particularly in your case, I think with just the Marrow Slicer, but they would screw up the skull draws. And we saw that in multiple games where the discounts from the skull were screwed up, but it didn't matter because all the cards are cheap enough that
they cost 1 or 2, and
it didn't change the math whatsoever. You still would have a big altruist turn, basically sealing the priest game. You're still able to do what you wanted in the last game off that skull. So interesting to see that whatever fears there were related to Skull's interaction with Soul Fragments is not founded. And that deck is still really strong.
I guess it feels bad if you hit like a Gladebound or the Skull or a Marrow Slicer, because then that's still 4, 5, 6, right? But like everything else in the deck is 1 or 2 mana. So like if you hit the average mana cost of your deck, you're not too worried.
Right.
Like, okay. Like
yeah. I do want to say, Brushy, when you joined, you were not on cam, but out of respect, I got you on the stream here, so you can proceed to do all your things that you normally do on cam, and everybody will be able to see you there on Champo Vision.
Champo Vision
in the middle of the screen. But so a question that we had posed to each other during the broadcast here is, what the heck are you doing in the 5 seed, man? Can we get you up into the 3 or something after this week?
Well, so all right, so Blue and I were just talking about that. So before the season started, when Blue asked me to join ATL, he told me I was going to be the 3 seed, right? So then we walk into week 1. No one informs me that I'm actually the 4 seed on the team now. And then I lost to Mako last week to me playing nothing in the Rogue Mirror and me just watching him play Solitaire for 5 turns. And then, I don't know, I guess that loss bumped me down to 5th. But
I'm hoping that after this week you are moving up to the 3 seed, because it would mean that both Matty Ebbs and Pond lost their matches, which would be great for my team. So that's what I'm rooting for.
Would that jump me all the way to the 3?
It would be pretty close.
Potentially.
I don't think you are going to gain much PR from beating Clarity. But if Matty loses, then he would definitely drop below you. And if Pond loses, depending on how much he lost, it's you're only about 30 PR.
He's playing Yellow Dart, who is 45-ish PR above him, I think.
No way Pond loses more than like 25 PR, I think.
Yeah, so odds are you'll be the 4 seed if Matty loses, and that would be it.
Yeah.
Just as a quick update on that match, currently Yellow Dart is up 2-0 on Pond.
Oh, dang.
Going into game 3. So maybe looking to answer your sweep with a sweep of his own if things continue to go well.
Yeah, but he doesn't know yet. It's still being streamed. They don't know yet. But
listen, Captain knows about the delay.
By the time they watch this, it's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I do want to say, Blue did tell me before this match that if I beat Clarity, I would officially have more wins as a member of one of the ATL teams than Ron would. Because Ron is 0-2 in
We
Legacy.
see the true motivation.
Extra motivation.
So I had to win. Like, I feel bad for Clarity, but like I had to
Hold on. Wait.
have more wins than Ron.
You're not quitting ATL after this week, are you? You're staying on the rest of the season, right?
No, but I'm saying like as of week 2. Yeah. As of week 2, Ron's 0-2.
Right.
And I'm 1-1. So I now officially have more wins than Ron.
Same with in Pro. I thought you meant like all time.
I mean, this one win's going to lock me up all time over Ron. So.
No, so you could have done it any other week. Why'd you have to pick this week? Why'd you have to pick it on Clarity? Come on, man.
Well, you know, I didn't really think about that. Blue gave me the motivation to do it, and I was just like, all right, I gotta go.
Blue is messing with your head. He's got you wrapped around his finger.
All he does is talk about numbers and math, and I get confused, and I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of like his actual
I don't know what
job,
the numbers
though.
mean. Yeah, I actually found out Blue teaches literally 5 minutes down the road from my hotel today.
Oh, well, there you go.
He's like, I can literally throw a rock and hit where he teaches. He's so close.
I mean, if we're not for social distancing rules, you could have gotten an in-person tutorial on how to play tonight.
I mean, we could sit across the room. Like, you could like put it up on a wall or something. Like, he sits in the back of the room, I sit up front where the computer is, and we just like yell at each other. You know?
There you go.
See,
good
there's ways around the 6 feet. If you have a third person, that's 6 feet, so you're all good. You know.
Now I know you brought up Ron Mexico, so I had to look it up while we're looking here because I wanted to know what the all-time hero record for both of you was.
Oh no! Please stop. We're good.
Should I read that?
I vote yes.
I think it's Ron, right? I did tank one season though, so I can
former pro MVP BrushyTuna after this week will be 13-23 all-time in hero.
Oh goodness.
Whoa, wait, hold on. That can't be right. I've definitely played way more than that.
This is your 5th season.
Yeah.
But you didn't play full seasons.
I played a full season every season I played.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Maybe
Listen, all I'm doing is looking at the website right now.
13-23 is.
Ron Mexico is 16-17.
I thought he had one losing record. I thought. Oh well.
Numbers never lie.
Numbers
do not lie. I'm sure Blue could tell me some numbers later, and I'm still going to be confused.
Blue's going to convince you that
Ron is
you're the winningest player in here.
Yeah. Take that, Ron.
There you go.
I mean, you can't be the winningest player in hero because I'm here. So.
Are you the winningest player in hero?
I am not the winningest player in hero.
You mean Icicles is here, right?
I've only played 2 seasons of hero, so
yeah, it's still more than Donde probably has.
My winning percentage is good, but my total number of wins is not there yet.
I will have you know that my first series in THL was hero.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, and you probably went like 0-9. Like
I was an all-star my first season.
They felt bad. All right, they're like, look at this poor soul over here with 0 wins. Let's just vote him in, get him in there, let him have something.
Guy, I'm 36-23, so I don't even want to hear it.
Oh.
So Donde, are you still happy that we brought on Brushy for this interview?
Absolutely not.
No. No, I am not. I'm thrilled.
Listen, you set this up, Donde. The minute you were like, I'd rather not have to have an interview with Brushy, so I hope he loses. You set this all up like 2 hours ago. This is 100% your fault. So Clarity, if you're in the stream right now, which I think I see you chatting it up, you can blame Donde for this and Blue. Those are your 2 excuses.
Sorry, I gave the man accidental motivation, little bulletin
board
material.
Blue gave me the rest of the motivation to be better than Ron, which is, too easy to do, but it's still motivation, I guess.
Unbelievable. Well, congratulations again. Thank you for offering up your match on stream. As always, appreciated. Before we head out,
lasted like 10 minutes.
Oh, you have more to say? You have more to say?
Yeah, I always do.
Oh, also, sorry. I'm sorry. It only lasted 10 minutes. Is the name of your adult tape? So.
Sex tape.
Yeah.
On that note,
everyone teach how. If anybody happened to watch the entirety of the interview, they're going to be treated to us possibly getting taken off Twitch.
We've had such a wonderful night, amazing matches, and one interview that needs to end now.
Thanks, Brushy. Thanks for being here. Icicles, thank you for casting alongside me and carrying the cast while I wrestled with the third match logistics there that only lasted like 15 minutes.
No problem. It was a good time.
So we will be back next week, next Saturday, of course, with hopefully at least 2 more matches for you all. Keep in mind we do have our Sunday night matches tomorrow, so make sure to tune in for that starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. I believe there's some Sunday afternoon matches. I do not know the specifics of it, but I will ping LotusKnight to let everyone know in the server what's going on with those. And other than that,
I can read you tomorrow's Sunday night matches. I have those
please
in front of me. All right, so at 8 p.m., starting off, we got a Pro Series match between Ron Mexico from the Unknown versus Myanodon from the Beard Boys. At 9 p.m., we have a Hero Series from Teal Conference. We have Heat Shock from the Cult versus Rescue Wabbit from the Burdenators.
Great game.
And that's going to be awesome. And at 10 p.m. Eastern, we have a Legacy Series Gold Conference match of Bill Snyder from Diamond's Alley Cats versus the Big Ted from the Stubbs.
Look at that. He comes on after his win with an interview and does a promo.
That's outstanding.
Oh,
what a professional.
Hosted by Koroden, Dr. Fish, and Saku.
Well, thank you so much for letting them know what they can be in for tomorrow night. And as I said, we'll be back next Saturday with you, of course. Make sure to tune in to our talk shows Monday through Thursday, starting with Wildin' Out, our Wild Show on Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's it for us. I'm Donde. Thanks again, Icicles. Thank you, Brushy. Congratulations on your win. Good luck to your teams rest of the week. Good luck to everybody out there who still has matches, and we will see you later.
Good night.
Have a good night.